Yes, you know. So more or less, that is the general sentiment that they have, and it goes even to professionals. You know, that's what they do. Tsika here, sure.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
Well, thanks for the reflection so far. We continue the conversation, your National Roundtable. I'm still taking your calls on 086 000 2032, on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. George and KZN, you're back on the line. Good morning.
Thank you. Morning, Cathy, and your listeners. No, I think most of the people have spoken about, or your listeners have spoken about what I wanted to say, but I'm very disappointed at the way the minister, as well as the Minister of Finance and the Minister and the President have handled this SARS Commissioner issue. It shows that people are appointed in government when some ministers want them, not because they are competent for the job. The guy is competent. SARS has performed very well over the few years and has been able to meet its target in terms of revenue collection. But for a minister to make such remarks, although they were not intended for public, it shows how the ministers interfere with the appointments in government. How is the commissioner going to be able to walk into his office today, knowing very well that he is not wanted, about something that he warned the minister about? Because clearly you can see that, you can hear that the Minister of Finance was advised not to hike the VAT, but he went against those advices. And when this comes out into public, the minister and the president has the audacity to come out and speak like that. I mean, it leaves much to be desired. But thanks to the government of national unity, because if it was not there, we would be paying more for people who are failing to plan. Now, one last thing. I think the people of South Africa must understand that this country does not have money. This mentality of saying we have a lot of money must go away from their minds. Because if they continue to believe in that South Africa has got a lot of money, it's only that the money is misused. That's what is going to happen in the future, because those who are going to come into office, they will know that, okay, there's a lot of money here. Let us use it the way we like, because there's a lot. South Africa is in crisis.
Look, George, I agree with you in the fact that when you say that we are in crisis, but there are harsh realities we cannot run away from. If we were able to just reduce the wasteful expenditure that takes place in government, we would have greater efficiency, right? And so even if government needed to increase taxes to improve those services even more, the outrage from the public would perhaps not be what it is today. The problem is that we're not seeing an increase in efficiency. We've seen a decrease, right? Yes. And so why must we pay more for services that we barely get?
Yes, correct. Yeah, I think you are correct, Cathy, in saying that. But I wanted to emphasize that because we are working in government. We know that the departments are getting lesser and lesser each and every year. We have to do more with less. So it shows that the government is in crisis in terms of revenue. There's something that needs to be done to correct that.
Absolutely.
But in terms of wasteful expenditure and all of that, I think the level of accountability on the part of those who are in charge of budgets should be increased. Because people get away with these things knowing very well that they will misuse the money and they will not be paying for it.
Yeah, they know nothing will happen.
Let the employees of government, they've got pension. If you have misused the money, if you have allocated the money to go, you have been allocated a project of installing electricity in 100 homes, and you don't install 100 homes, let the person who is responsible for that particular project be brought into into justice.
Okay. All right,
And
George.
the pension be deducted so that you cover up for that. They will stop.
Let's leave it there. George out in KZN. Mpho, you're in Sekhukhune. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning. How are you?
Good, Mpho. Go for it.
Yeah, I know when you were opening this show, you said that, amongst other things, you cannot imagine that the government wanted to increase tax by 2 percentage points. And I think in this case, they were talking about VAT. Well, I have a different view to that because I would imagine that government will use the laws of the country when it comes to matters relating to proposals on tax increase or even tax decrease. The most important issue all the time is there rationality for government to propose to make the proposal they were going to make to Parliament. Here we are in a situation where obviously our revenue does not cover our expenditure fine. Secondly, those who are assisting us with kind of aid and so on, they are withdrawing their aid. Thirdly, there are people, doctors who are on the street, they want to, they are not employed, they need to be employed. There's a problem of service delivery in the country where in many instances there's a problem of expenditure. We were very concerned about the state of our South African National Defence Force. All these things point to a situation of saying somehow, some way, government must find money somewhere. We are the first to say when government wants to borrow money elsewhere, we cry foul. Now, what options does government have? Government will use the instrument it has to raise the revenue, which is including VAT, personal income tax, corporate tax, VAT, and so on. The only thing might be that we were not taken through, that we want to propose a way of generating more revenue for our expenditure. Perhaps the debate could have been different today. The way it came yesterday may be shocking to many of us, but it's within those instruments. My last point is that DA is not genuine in claiming that they are differing with this 2% increase. The DA is the last party to be thinking about the poor people of this country. The reason I'm saying they are not genuine is because they know very well that government is in a corner of not having revenue. And if the tax increases, the government will have more money to spend on service delivery, let alone the issue of concerns about whether service delivery is done genuinely and there is no corruption. I accept that. But if you want to take out government, a certain party out of power, you squeeze the resources so that the people will demand services and the government is unable to do that. And when government come up with certain alternatives, you cry foul. I'm not saying tax should remain at 2% and justifying for it. All I'm saying is we have to say now, what is the alternative?
Absolutely, Mpho. And one doesn't want to create the impression that they're necessarily easy answers to the problem that we're facing as a country right now. I mean, even the economic experts, they're grappling with this issue of what is to be done. And more, you hear the call that there has to be a sense of radicalness, a sense of boldness, change of direction, because as long as the country's growth is at the low levels that it is in, we are going to continue to experience this vicious cycle that we're caught up in. But how do we answer for the question of growth? Yes, absolutely. It is well within Treasury's mandate to do what it has done. There's nothing illegal here that has been done. But Mpho, we can't deny what the state of South Africans is. And I'm not talking South Africans, you and I, who are able to have a conversation on radio. You are able to call in. You've got airtime to call in. I'm not talking about you and I. I'm talking about those that are the most vulnerable in our society. Because when you increase VAT by 2%, that affects them even more than it affects you and I. And that is really where the priority should be. And if you again go back to what, the warning that the commissioner was raising, he described it as the country reaching almost, a precipice, an inflection point, that if this inflection point is not managed carefully, it's going to have unintended economical and political implications for the state of affairs in our country. And I think that's something that all of the ministers have to think deeply about before the 12th of March.
Kate, if I may come in, Kate. Well, on a lighter note, the airtime I'm using, SAFM called me back. But
All right, Mfo. All right, Mfo Nkukune, thanks for your contribution. Mandla in Cape Town, good morning.
Yes, Kathy. Good morning, Kathy. Last week I bought airtime of 50 rand. When I checked the slip, 7 rand gone to VAT. 43 rand, the amount that I should have. I could have bought that airtime with. I said this VAT is killing us. Now they've increased it in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, saying that they want more revenue. 7 years later, 8 years later, they want to increase it again, saying they want more revenue. 8 years to come, they will still increase it, saying they want more revenue to come. Where is this revenue exactly going to? Look at the ANC-run municipalities. All of them, they are a mess. Start with Johannesburg. They are a mess. If you can compare Johannesburg with all the towns that are here in the Western Cape, starting with Cape Town, Barrow, Elsie River, Wynberg, all the towns here in the Western Cape, they are far more better clean than Johannesburg. You go to Eastern Cape, Queenstown, Ekomani, a field, soccer field, it's natural grass with a fence around it. They call it a stadium. It cost 50 million rand. And yet you've got people who are saying the ANC is pro-poor and the DA is anti-poor. Our people are programmed like computers. You know, when you program a computer, whenever you press an A button, a key, it will give you an A. If you want a B, you cannot get a B on the same button key. It will give you an A, whereas the output you want it to be A. That's how our people are programmed. They are programmed to say the ANC is pro-poor, the DA is anti-poor. Whenever the DA is doing things that are pro-poor, but our people won't accept it. Look at the city of Cape Town. It's the only metro that gets clean audit. What does clean audit mean? It means that the money that you received and you use it for the purposes that were meant for. There's tangible evidence that shows that the money went to do A, B, and C.
Okay.
Go to the ANC-run municipalities. It's not the case. The money goes to corruption. But people still believe that the ANC is pro-poor and the DA is anti-poor.
All right. Mandla,
okay.
Mandla, yeah? I've got a break coming up, so I'm going to need you to wrap it up very quickly. Okay, all right, okay. It looks like Mandla has gone there. Apologies. I'm back with more of your calls.
Ever since Uspilion won 5,000 rand, 5 hour on Wheel of Fortune, he only wears white push-in sandals, star white, Baba, and he owns 10 identical pairs. And before he did not even know the Queen's language. Now, Kalabo, wow. Chance. Let's watch Wheel of Fortune weekdays, Monday to Friday at 7:30 on S3 and see how one spin changed Spillion's life and how it can change ours as well in just one day.
The giants of French rugby, Bodopa Claire and Clement Avogna, are fighting for a massive victory to cement top 5 positions. This is the top 14 Rugby the French way. Catch the huge contest between Bordeaux Union Peclair and Clermont Auvergne on Sunday, 23 February at 10 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
We continue the conversation on the Talking Point, your national roundtable, taking your calls on 086 000 2032 and on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Madwaha, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
These national discussions and public discussions are very much helpful. In a sense, they are educational. For some of us, they give us a sense of the sanity levels, the thinking capacity inside ANC meetings, because some of the participants are clearly ANC activists. It shows us the intellectual degeneration that has engulfed the ANC and its alliance over the years. Listen to their perspectives as they helplessly try to justify the mega incompetence and the mediocre case. How do you justify the fact that there was millions of fruitless expenditure yesterday through flights, through accommodation, through opulent catering? Just that. For me, it shows reckless management and irresponsible management of the fiscals. Just that. Let alone the fact that the rand hit a slump and that affected shares, that affected the stock market. It affected even the constituency of the ANC and DA itself, It talks to the stability, because they always say, Ramaphosa always say their government is there because of they want to enforce stability and market certainty. These types of things that they are doing are actually showing the contrary. There's serious instability. They are unreliable as a government, both to the working class as well as their own class allies. That's one point I wanted to raise. Kate, a few days back, then this is very serious to females and us who are fathers. EFF, I think it was Sihle and Naledi in Parliament, who were raising the issue that in universities, it is related to the budget. It talks to NFS. In universities and some colleges, women are demanded sex for accommodation and all of that. And there were then ANC women, Nombendulo, and this Mtauli lady and others who howled at them. And I'm trying to think that what is happening with these women? There are people who are raising a view in defense of helpless women, and then there are people for narrow political.
Madwaha? Oh, where did you go? We lost the line to you, but you are making such a good point. And it also goes to show how quickly the tables turn, right? How quickly the tables turn. If you think about the fact that those two MPs were themselves on the other side, right? Young women fighting for free education just this past decade. Voiswa? How's Voiswa?
Yes, thanks, Cathy, for taking my call. Yes. How are you?
Good. Go for it.
How are you? Yes. I just want to weigh into this issue of jobs. In December, I attended a conference of China-Africa relations. I think the likes of Professor Dave Munyai and them were there together. There was a speaker there who stood up and said some people will never see a job in their lifetime until they die. Reasons because we concentrate a lot and make a lot of noise about jobs, which I don't support. I don't subscribe to that. And that is an election language. When politicians want to get in power, they have this, language of creating jobs, which is part of the campaigning strategy. People must be told to create jobs, must be helped to create jobs. Like, for instance, banks and financial institutions must be able to empower people, and people must actually go for skilled qualifications, plumber and everything else. Start your own business. It's not gonna be possible. Not everybody's going to be able. We can make a lot of noise until, the cows come back home. There will never be enough jobs for people as much as we're having graduates every year. So people must be told to create jobs. That language must die. Let's create jobs. It create jobs. There's no government that's going to create jobs for everyone.
Look, Voice. I think what you're saying is almost on the other end of the same coin, right? Because if we are unable to create jobs, then we must at least empower people with the skills that they need to create a livelihood for themselves. But currently, we're caught up in a situation where neither of those things are happening at the scale to which it is impactful.
The problem here is that we still have those prejudices. Right now the prejudices are that people can't employ South Africans. If I can conduct a research right now, even in your house, Cathy, I'll find that your helper is a foreigner. So I'm sorry, he comes from neighboring countries. Most of people that I know, even ministers, they employ people from neighboring countries. So what do you expect that if yourself you're not practicing what you're talking about, and you expect that other people will do it, and then we come here and make such a lot of noise? All what we must do is we must fight with the banks, we must fight with financial institutions, we must fight for young people to get skilled, to be skilled. That's the only way we can run out of poverty. Otherwise, this thing is not going to work. We can make noise and talk this and that and be so eloquent in it criticizing other people. They can't create jobs. I know I've been in government. I know what is happening.
Okay.
So there's no creation of jobs that's going to happen here.
Okay.
We must actually try and fight with financial institutions, which are racist. White people don't go looking for jobs. They have jobs ready for them.
Voiswa, let's leave it there. We're going to have to leave it there. I'm completely out of time. I do think, of course, there are white people who look for jobs, but I understand maybe the sentiment that you're expressing, that it could well be easier, right? I think that's the point that you're trying to make. It's 10 o'clock, time for the latest news.
Thank you, Cathy. Top stories at 10. Lamula speaks on U.S.'s representation at the G20 summit, and torrential rain causes more floods in the Eastern Cape. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good morning. International Relations Minister Ronald Lamula says the U.S. is not completely boycotting South Africa. He says it will be represented at the G20 summit later this year. Lamula says the U.S. will also be represented at a very high level at the first meeting of the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors in Cape Town next week. Lamula was speaking after the 16th session of the European Union-South Africa Ministerial Political Dialogue in the mother city.
Our U.S. Embassy mission in Washington, it's engaging all the relevant strategic partners. Engagement is ongoing, and when there is an outcome, we will be able to share with the South African public. We remain optimistic that the engagement has to happen.
The G20 organizing team says South Africa's presidency will ensure that all global pressing issues are dealt with before the group's main summit later this year. President Cyril Ramaphosa will today officially open the G20 foreign ministers meeting in Johannesburg. G20 Sherpa advocate Nokukhanya Jele says pertinent matters will be discussed at a senior level to ensure that the work of the group's work is not derailed. Mashele's responsibility as a Sherpa is to take the discussions and agreements to the final summit with heads of state and government.
One of the ways to ensure that geopolitical issues and substance matters do not derail discussions is to ensure that those working groups focus on a very clear delineated mandate that's been spelt out in issue notes that have been distributed with all of our partners in the G20 countries, and they focus on those critical substantive issues, whether it's debt sustainability or it's the matter of critical minerals beneficiation.
The National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa says that it is pleased with the postponement of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's 2025 budget to the 12th of next month. This follows Government of National Unity Partners' dramatic block over a tax hike disagreement. A mooted 2% VAT hike is at the core of the unprecedented postponement of the budget. NUMSA spokesperson Phakamile Hlubi-Majola says a tax hike would be a blow to South Africa's working class.
We don't support that government should increase VAT. It's a regressive tax policy which affects the working class and the poor. So we are happy that they failed in implementing that or in proposing that. We must also comment on the irony of the fact that the DA took advantage of that situation and is using it to its advantage and making it seem that it is more progressive than the ANC. And this, for us, is something that NUMSA consistently warned the ANC about.
City Power in Johannesburg says it will resume its operations in Alexandra and Johannesburg this morning. It says this follows a constructive meeting with community leaders yesterday. The power utilities technicians were supposed to work on the outages in the area. The work was temporarily suspended after community members attacked 2 City Power employees on Tuesday evening. City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena.
But we strongly condemn these actions because when people do not have electricity, attacking other people that are supposed to provide that service, or even damaging municipal or government infrastructure, it's something that is only serves to exacerbate the situation, and you will need the very same services in the future.
Torrential rain has caused more flooding in the rural areas of the Eastern Cape. The old dilapidating Greenville Hospital in Mbizana in the eastern part of the province is one of the affected facilities. Staff have been mopping up some of the flooded offices. Residents of Mbizana have been calling for the construction of a new hospital in the area. The hospital caters for hundreds of people in the Alfred Nzo district. There are concerns that its poor state poses a danger to patients and staff employees. Recapping the top story, International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola says the U.S. is not completely boycotting South Africa. He says it will be represented at the G20 summit later this year. I am Mondela Mbano for SFM News headlines at 10:30.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Welcome to the second hour of the Talking Point, 6 after 10 o'clock. Coming up this hour, it is Municipal Watch. And today our focus is on the Mopani District Municipality. We're going to be looking in particular at issues of water delivery. One of the challenges that they've been facing is with regard to boreholes and contracts around boreholes that were supposed to be put in the community to benefit them, but there have been some challenges there. We'll find out exactly what has been going on, and we'll get the municipality then to also respond to the grievances raised by the members of the community. Before we get into that, thank you for your engagement in the open line. Still plenty of your voice notes and calls are coming through. It's great that so many South Africans want to register their voices or want their opinion on this matter to be known. And the engagement, of course, will continue on SAFM throughout the day. Let's take a couple of your WhatsApp voice notes. It'll lead us into Municipal Watch.
Good morning, Sister Katie. These ANC politicians, They are only interested in playing golf and riding expensive yachts. They don't care for us. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody said they leave the responsibility of compiling government documents and preparing government speeches. They leave those responsibilities to their high school children, because clearly there is no level of thinking that has been invested in this budget speech. They just write whatever they want to write, and then the ANC majority is going to approve it. Yeah, these people, they are useless, man. They are useless. Lungsando, Kwaduguza.
Cathy, when President Cyril Ramaphosa made his budget speech, his State of the Nation address, he mentioned big figures, how roads were going to be constructed. He mentioned billions and billions of rands, money, how the money was going to be spent. Now my question is, when there was no agreement in cabinet, what was he basing these figures on? Because it sounds like he came up with the figures and the cabinet or the government of national unity had not agreed on any amount. So I think it's better if we have got the budget speech before the State of the Nation address, so that the president can speak on money that he knows it is available, it has been budgeted for and approved. So we can go see his Springford Day. Thank you.
Morning, Katie. Morning, listeners. Tabo from Orange Farm. Regarding the two ministers' comments, I'd like to challenge you, Katie, and the media at large, to challenge both ministers to retract the statement and apologize on a public radio regarding their comments. Failure to do this, then we'll know exactly that the president should hold them responsible for such comment, because he's putting his cabinet and parliament into disrepute. Please, could you just try with your team there to get the ministers to comment or say something related to their comment? I thank you.
Good morning, Cathy. The hot mic incident has exposed a whole lot of things. One, we know that some ministers in the cabinet, they wanted to push for the 2%, including Godongwana and minister in the president. And now we know that they are angry. They said it themselves. They are angry at the commissioner for what he was trying to propose as an alternative to the 2% increase. Now the society must protect the commissioner at all costs, because now they are going to target him. Thank you very much. Anonymous Pulukwan, Tobe.
Hi, Cathy. Cathy Godongwana he just needs to resign after that gossip, which was trending yesterday, the video, and his colleagues. How can you talk about your colleague like that? Even if you thought the mics were off, how can you talk about your colleague that you're supposed to be in charge of the security of the finances of this country? And the minister who thinks that in the situation of hardship for the poor, he must raise the tax, the VAT tax, and he gets angry when his colleague says, no, you can't do that. What kind of minister is this, Godongwana? Thank you, Cathy. Luando in Quebec. Alala.
Ever since Uspilion won 5,000 rand, 5 dawa on Wheel of Fortune, he only wears white push-in sandals. White, Baba. And he owns 10 identical pairs. And before he did not even know the Queen's language. Now, Kalabo, wow. Chance. Let's watch Wheel of Fortune weekdays, Monday to Friday at 7:30 on S3, and see how one spin changed Billion's life and how it can change ours as well in just one day.
Borussia Dortmund and FC Union Berlin are both searching for a decent position in the top half. They have a big battle for maximum points. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch Borussia Dortmund FC versus FC Union Berlin on Saturday, 22 February at 7:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. It's Municipal Watch. So let's get then into the news for this week, which is focusing on the Mopani District Municipality. So one of our listeners, Loward, called in on the open line. This was in the last 2 weeks. And he raised concerns about corruption that had been taking place with regard to a borehole project in the Mopani district. So we're going to play that clip of Loward in a moment, and then we'll bring on the guests, members of the community and officials to respond. Here's what Loward had to say.
During December, last year December, corruption has been uncovered within that municipality regarding the borehole drilling tender system, of which it amounted to millions of rand. In this instance, Casey, the villages, and then most of them were suffering from the lack of basic need, which is water. We were supposed to be serviced with boreholes within our communities, but what happened is that there were shortcomings in regard to the servicing of the boreholes in our communities. So what I want to emphasize this morning is that since there is corruption which has been uncovered or unearthed in that municipality, and the CFO of the municipality has been placed on precautionary suspension to that regard, it means everyone involved, either officials and politicians who are involved in these corrupt activities, which subsequently deprive the communities of their basic needs, it has to be uncovered, and everyone involved must be brought to book and be prosecuted.
So, Loward, just to understand, was it a tender that was issued for boreholes
Yes.
to be put up, but these then that did not happen?
Correct, yes. Let me give you a practical example from my own village, Casey. Instead of the municipality or the service providers through the municipality connecting the pipes from the boreholes to the reservoir, and then the village has to be provided with water, they shortchanged the system in the sense that they only put 2 JoJo tanks next to the borehole.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
All right, so that was Loward's call raising the issue of an incomplete project to erect boreholes in the Mopani District Municipality. Joining us on the line this morning is Diro Mashimbi, who is a community representative from the Mashimbi Royal House. Diro, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to SA listeners.
Odas Ngobeni is the spokesperson for the Mopani District Municipality. Odas, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and to the listeners of SAFM. We may as well register our appreciation for the invite.
All right, and then later this morning we'll be joined by Persim Tombeni, who represents the Greater Giyani Concerned residents. Diro, let me perhaps begin with you and give you an opportunity to speak to us about some of the issues you've been having when it comes to securing clean drinking water. What do we know about this project to erect boreholes within the Mopani District Municipality, and how far has it gone, at least from the perspective that you as residents have been told and what it is that you've experienced?
Yeah, as one of the Giyani community member from Bode Village, we expressed the challenge of water shortages in our area. I think it was during 2022, the Mopani province or the Mopani district, they They supply us with the borehole that has been erected in our area. That borehole only works, I think, for a few months. After that, it has been vandalized, whereby the poles of electricity has been destroyed. Then we did try to do a follow-up with the municipality from 2022. Nothing was happening until December this year. I tried myself to call the municipality through the office of the executive mayor, Puleshai, and then they confessed that they will come and resolve the issue with immediate effect. But that thing was not happening until I report the matter to Mganalon in the FM, whereby the executive mayor declare to the community that the ball will be resolved immediately, whereby the technician has been dispatched to come and resolve the matter. But what happened, instead of resolving the issue, they continue vandalizing the borehole. They've taken out the pump that was installed, that was supporting the borehole. They also took out the pump that was installed down to take water outside, and then they bring the moderator that they think will assist the community, but that thing it never works. And then I reported the matter to the municipality again to tell them that what they did, instead of the problem, they keep on vandalizing, but nothing was done. I even sent the WhatsApp message to others. He didn't reply to me. I even called the mayor again, where he sent the delegates to our community to apologize for everything. It was on the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, of December, whereby they promised the community that they will make sure that the borehole it's fixed, so that the community can get water, because this water bulk project that was supposed to assisting is not getting to the finished, with the reason I don't know why it's not getting finished, but the community is still suffering.
Diro, just to perhaps backtrack a bit in terms of what you had said. So in 2022, this would have been under COVID-19.
Yes.
There were boreholes that were erected in the community. That's correct?
Yes.
Those boreholes were working at the time that they were erected?
Yeah, the borehole that it was vandalized was working, but the other one that was out of the other side of the community, the new section called it Bodeki, it was not working at all.
Okay.
But it's the one that they drilled, I think it was 2016, it was not working at all.
Okay, so in essence, you had one borehole that
Yes.
that was erected that was working.
Yes.
How many boreholes were you promised?
We were promised 2 boreholes, but in the community, because it's big, we have 4 boreholes. It's working currently, but these 2 that they at a later stage, it's not working.
Just maybe for the benefit of myself and the other listeners, Diro, give us a sense of, and I don't know if you're moving around, or because it sounds like you're in the wind, and it's disturbing the connection that we have to you, the quality of connection that we have to you. If you can give me and the rest of the listeners just a picture of your community and these 4 boreholes. So what does it take for households to be able to get water from these boreholes? How close are they to where people live, or maybe they're not close at all? Paint a picture for us so that we're able to visualize what exactly it is that you as residents are having to go through to access water.
The residents, they're having challenges to go get water. They have to travel plus or minus 3 kilometers to get the water to the borehole that is down there in our community. And that borehole, it's not like it's giving the water almost. Sometimes they don't get water at all. So it's like since 1998, the community was suffering get water from the district municipality.
Okay. So having to walk 3 kilometers to get water, and I imagine that many people are using wheelbarrows, or I know sometimes they are often, those people with bakkies in the community, they'll use their bakkie, you pay extra money and they'll take your water drum, get water for you. Is that the setup that you guys have?
Yeah, so some they have to drive wheelbarrows, those who have funds, they have to buy from the people who are selling water in the communities, because we do have those people who are selling water. For those who don't have money, they have to travel long distance, most especially for the grannies who are patient. So their money that they earn, they have to buy water, and per truck or per jojo to get water, it's somewhere costing like 300 rand to 350 per jojo. So if you buy twice a month, it means all the money for patient is gone. That's I'm saying that the community is suffering under the watch of the municipality.
Odas, let me then come to you and give you a chance to come in. Let's firstly talk more broadly about the project to install boreholes in the Mopani district. What did the project entail?
Look, Cathy, we do not have a project that will say it's a project to install boreholes. At a particular time, we'll have a community that is water-starved. We are then able to go and drill boreholes as a short-term intervention, because you'll know that the Mopani district municipality is a water-scarce district. Basically, you will also know that part of the reason why we had the Giyani water project conceptualized was to respond to the challenges that we have around shortage of surface water in the district, in particular in Giyani. But to zoom specifically into the issue that is raised by Mr. Mashinja from Board, we went there to implement a project, if I were to call it, that will seek to try to resolve or respond to the issue of water challenges there. Now, part of the reason why we went there is because they were not getting water from the bulk supply that we have from the Giyani water supply. We drilled boreholes. We also had some communal taps that were installed within that community. But unfortunately, because of vandalism, which is what Mr. Mashinzi is also confirming, power lines, not only transformers, were stolen, were vandalized, and we then had to try and respond by ensuring that the boreholes that are there are energized through our generators. But even that becomes a bit of a challenge, because you still need to have a person who will be there full-time. But also the biggest challenge that we have is that these boreholes will not be operational throughout because of the vandalism that I spoke about. There were boreholes where pumps were stolen, including in that community. Just to give you a picture, case, we have 375 boreholes in Giyani alone. Only 267 are working. 45 has been vandalized. This is where they stole the transformers. They stole, whether it's the pumps. 45 are not working. But we also have a number of 43 that are just not energized, not electrified by ESCOM. That is where we have the biggest challenge. But the community of Bode was supposed to benefit from the current project that we're implementing as part of the Giyani water project, where we are doing reticulation to households, direct to each household. We are no longer doing communal taps. We are reticulating direct to households. In fact, it is the only community out of the 24 where we have encountered interruptions, where we were forced to even move the project to another village because of the infighting between the community around issues of traditional leadership. So the community, as we speak, was supposed to be already benefiting from the bulk water project from the Giyani, as much as the other communities that are also benefiting, like Yomaswangani, which is the nearby village, is already benefiting from this particular project.
So, Otis, if we can maybe then go back to just the plan. I hear you when you say that you don't have a wholesale project to install boreholes, but as and when you find that there's a need, and I mean the need has been there for a while, but you obviously would use whatever criteria you're using for the erection of these boreholes. DIRO speaks about 2022 and boreholes that were put up then. Let's talk about those boreholes. What was the plan when you were installing boreholes in 2022?
Like I indicated, yes, we're responding to the immediate need of water because we could not tell when the bulk water project will be finished. Now you had the community of Bode, Maswanganye, which are just nearby. Now these communities were no longer getting water from the bulk water supply, which is supposed to be from our Guyana water treatment works. Now, we went there to respond to that particular need. And in fact, we also had support from your DBSA. They also came with their own board. They drilled, installed the solar panels, but they were also stolen. The panels were also stolen. Now, we're trying to respond to that particular need while we wait for the bulk water supply, which we are currently implementing. And as I indicated, part of the reason why the community is not yet benefiting from this bulk water project is necessarily because of the infighting. Unfortunately, there were vandalism. The bowls that are there were vandalized, but we went there. It's correct to say he called into one of the shows at one of the SABC radio stations. The executive mayor committed in December that he will send a team. And indeed, he did send a team that will need a 3-phase generator. The bowl is working now as we speak. So, of course, there are other challenges that we cannot really come to this station and dispute around issues of water supply in the village.
So, what I'm trying to understand, Otis, is the assertion that DIRO had made that from the get-go there were boreholes that were installed that simply did not work. Before we get to the vandalism.
Yes, it's correct. There were bowls. That is why I'm saying that we have 43 bowls in Guyana, not to talk about broadly the district. If you were to talk about broadly the district, we have 309 bowls that are not energized. We are still waiting for ESCOM to energize. And that is a process
So you have 300 and you have 309 boreholes.
Yes.
That are currently non-operational.
Not necessarily non-operational, not energized, where we have to use generators. And in most cases, you will be required to use a 3-phase generator. And
okay.
we
Otis,
then find out
I'm going to pause you there. I'm going to pause you there. We're going to come back to this point. Just hang 10. I don't want us to move quickly. Hang 10. It's 10:30, time for the latest news headlines. We'll continue with this conversation shortly.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news headlines, a memorial service for the 3 or 14 South African soldiers killed in the DRC is underway at the Tempe military base in Bloemfontein. International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola says the U.S. is not completely boycotting South Africa. He says it will be represented at the G20 summit later this year. And the G20 organizing team says South Africa's presidency will ensure that all global pressing issues are dealt with before the group's main summit later this year. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 18 rand 51 to the dollar, 23 rand 31 to the pound, and 19 rand 31 to the euro. Markets in Asia were mainly weaker at the closing bell. The JSE is mixed in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are trading higher. Gold is trading at $2,948, platinum $982 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $76.25 a barrel.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Get your payments done with the utmost security and convenience when you purchase a TV license now. With our new secure payment systems with a one-time PIN, OTP feature, and the choice of receiving your OTP via SMS or email, you can ensure prompt and secure payments. The additional use of capture will protect you against spam and automated data attractions. With TV licenses, you can enjoy watching all your favorite shows or movies that matter to you. Get yours today. Visit www.tvlic.co.za.
Meet TJ, the magician. Well, he isn't quite the magician, but shame, let's call him that. The other day he tried to do that coin ear trick. Poor Owami is still in the hospital with a 5 Rand coin stuck in his ear. He tried getting his pit bull, Mufasa, to levitate. Oh, he got that right. But now Mufasa is levitating through Tembisa, and somehow TJ forgot to read the section on how to get Mufasa back down. It's tough being a magician, but luckily for TJ, Britain's Got Talent Ultimate Magician will be the perfect inspiration for him to be the best magician in Tembisa. Catch Britain's Got Talent Ultimate Magician Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
We continue the conversation on the talking point, the Mopani District Municipality, our focus for Municipal Watch today, and we're looking in particular at the issue of water supply, in particular boreholes in that district municipality and the challenges that residents have been having. Diro Mashimbi is a community representative from the Mashimbi Royal House. Odas Ngobeni, the spokesperson for the Mopani District Municipality, and Persim Tombeni is with the Greater Giyani Concerned Residents. Odas, I want to come back to you. You were telling us before we went to news about the 309 boreholes that you have put up in the municipality. And you said these were not energized, i.e. they don't have a direct power line. Is that correct?
Correct, Cathy. This is across the 5 local municipalities. We are responsible for 5 local municipalities,
yes,
which will include Giyani, where Mr. Mashinji comes from.
Yes. So how are communities able then to make use of those boreholes?
In most instances, we are forced to use generators, as indicated earlier, Cathy, and that is where it becomes a bit challenging. It's not something that is easy to sustain, because management of the diesel, but also getting these volunteers from the community to be able to move to the boreholes, it becomes a bit of a challenge. That is why you'll find that in most of these communities, we're being forced to augment even the supply through our water tankers. And that is as well something that we are trying to eliminate. But with the work that we've been doing, particularly in the Greater Giyani municipality, where we've at least moved some few meters in terms of the project around the Giyani bulk water project, most of these communities are beginning to now depend more on the bulk than the bowls, because the whole idea was to just ensure that the communities have at least some consistent supply of water.
Okay, Odas, how many generators do you have?
I will not be able to talk numbers, Kate, in terms of the generators.
What I want to know is, at any given point, how many of these boreholes are actually functional?
We have 1,743 boreholes in the district. 991 are operational across the district. You will have
I'm talking about the 309 that relate to Giyani.
No. That is why I said, Kate, the 309 is not limited to Giyani. It's for the whole district.
So out of in the entire district, you have a total of how many boreholes then, Orders?
If we were to zoom into Guyana, we have 375 boreholes, 267 are working. I did indicate that we have 43 that are not energized. We do not have a connection, ESCOM connection. Perhaps if I were to go back a bit, Casey, if we go back to the issue of border, if Mr. Mashinzu was honest as well, he will tell you that part of the reason why these boreholes that he's talking about are not energized is because there was theft of the ESCOM power line for about 3 to 4 kilometers. The power line, the entire power line was stolen, including the transformer, which is something that as well we do not have really any control over. That is why we always call for community support, community ownership of infrastructure. We were then forced to then take a generator to try and make sure that the poles that are there are operationalized.
Okay. Percy, let me bring you in here, and perhaps you can speak from the perspective of the organization you represent. Odus, of course, has painted a picture of a municipality that is really trying its best, but residents are not coming on board because they're also at the heart of the challenges to infrastructure, where infrastructure is being destroyed.
No, thanks very much, Cathy, and good morning to you and your listeners. Firstly, Cathy, as a leader of the community, we must always try by all means to speak the truth and not try to buy favors from the people who are handling us. Firstly, let me just say, if ever in Guyana, Cathy, we had about 250 or 57 boreholes working, as Mr. Ngowen is saying, then we shouldn't be having a problem of water. Okay. So we must always try to speak the truth. Cathy, I remember last year when the former minister, Minister Sedo Mchunu, came to Guyana, we raised an issue of boreholes in the Ngeza village, whereby people are struggling to get even a single drop of water. He came in to say, we are going to have an immediate solution. Up until today, the people of Ndengeza are still struggling. Not only the people of Ndengeza, also every village in Guyana. If we had about 257 boreholes working, then we shouldn't be having a problem. And you know what, Cathy? They must not hide away from the truth. We have a lot of challenges here. Let me not include ZZ because the issue of ZZ2, it has been there for a very long time, and you know our leaders are failing to deal with that issue. We have a problem now. We have a project which is currently going on, water reticulation. For it's about 2 years now. That project was supposed to be finished in less than a year, but it has been 2 years now. So it shows, Cathy, that the leaders that we have, Mopani district is currently failing the people of Guyana dismally. So Mr. Ngoweni must come here and tell the truth. Thanks.
And to the extent, Percy, that order says that in some instances where they have put up boreholes, members of the community have vandalized that infrastructure because of whatever politics are at play within those areas.
Cathy, you know, when you put up a borehole and then you leave it unelectrified for 3 years, do you think that borehole will still be proper? They must come here, tell the truth. They must not come here and lie. Those boreholes that they are talking about, yes, they may have been vandalized. Maybe after 2 years or 3 years after they were drilled. The boards that are talking about, Cathy, I know we are on the ground. This issue of water, we've been dealing with it for the past 4 years now, as Greater Glen Concerned residents. There's nothing that's happening on the ground. They are doing absolutely nothing. As I have said, Cathy, if Mopani was doing something, we shouldn't be having problems of water. As I have stated, he said there are 257. Do you know how many villages we have in Guyana? We have 96 villages in Guyana. And they are saying 257 boreholes are waiting. But we still have a challenge of water. He said 47 or 40 something boreholes are vandalized. Okay, it's fine. 47 out of 309 are vandalized. What happens to the 250? Are they working now? But why are people still crying in terms of having a single drop of water in Guyana? If what he's saying, Mr. Ngoben, is the truth.
Odas, I want to give you a chance to come in. How long were some of these boreholes left before they were connected to the Eskom power supply?
It does take some time, Cathy. Like I indicated, this is a matter that is actually beyond our control. We will go into a community with noble intentions to try and resolve issues of water supply in the immediate. And you will find that even when you make applications to Eskom, it does take time.
What is time?
What
is the time frame that we're talking about here?
There are boreholes that have been there for a year, or even more than that, where they have not been energized. That is why we have to try and improvise to ensure that at least we use generators.
So then how many generators do you have? Clearly, this is a problem that you're dealing with on a day-to-day. And if you know that you have put up infrastructure that is incomplete and that is not serving the purpose that it was intended to for members of the community, then resolving those issues is obviously your priority. So you actually should know the number of generators that you have, because that speaks to what you are saying about how committed you have been to making sure that residents are able to access water. So you know how many boreholes you have, but you don't know how many at any given point could be producing waters for the villages that they are in.
Look, unfortunately, Kate, I don't want to come here and tell lies. I don't have the number of boreholes, the number of generators that we have. It will be suicidal for me to come here and lie to the communities of Mopane and say this is the number of generators that we have. What I know is that we try to improvise, especially in areas where we know that even with the water tankers that we have, we are not able to reach. We try to improvise to ensure that
So how many villages are you sending water tankers out to?
I will also not talk about the number of villages. You know, we have 359 villages in the district. Like you said, we have 94, 95 in Guyana alone. So for me to talk about, because each village has its own water supply dynamics. For instance, I did indicate to you there are villages where we are no longer taking water tankers. Yondindan, it's one of the villages that's already getting water from the bulk water supply, and along with other 9 villages that are already benefiting from it. So we are no longer taking water tankers, and that will also tell you that the number is gradually improving, because we have been able to link our bulk water supply to the source, and which is something that has been a bit of a challenge previously. We are getting water from Nandoni now, which has increased our capacity at the level of the water treatment works. We're able to purify around 30 megaliters a day, and that means that we're able to reach more of our communities in Greater Guyana alone.
Look, Odas, what I'm struggling with is that you have articulated the challenge very well, but I'm unclear about the solutions that you say you're providing in as far as responding to the problem is concerned. Because the inability to provide answers suggests to me that, in fact, the solutions that you are saying you're providing to the community are not as clear-cut as you want us to believe.
Perhaps the issue that we should be able to clarify, Cathy, is that as and when we drill these boreholes, we don't drill these boreholes with hope that we are going to just use generators. I did indicate the difficulties around using the generators. We drill with hope that Eskom will also be coming on board to assist us in terms of
energizing. Yes, but you've spoken about a year's turnaround time. You've spoken about a turnaround time of at least a year.
And that is why we then come with the issues of generators. The only unfortunate part, Cathy, is that I do not know the number of generators that we have, and I cannot come here and.
So then how can you speak about which boreholes are functioning and which are not functioning if you don't know the number of generators that you have? Because this then becomes the interim or the backup plan.
So the fact that I cannot tell you the number of generators then disqualifies me to talking about the bowls that we have as a district, including the ones that are
I'm
not
saying that
I don't think
I'm saying that it raises questions about what you are saying, because you are saying that yes, there may be these boreholes that don't have access to Eskom power, but we as a municipality have come up with solutions. We're providing generators. Percy says, no, that's not what's happening. These boreholes are still dry. You are disputing that, but you can't tell us how many generators you have, and at any given point, what then becomes the connection of these boreholes that are sitting, not working, because they're still waiting for power from Eskom.
I think I will still repeat what I said, Keith. Even when we drill these boreholes, we drill with an understanding that Eskom will come on board and
yes, this is. But you've already told us. You've already told us that Eskom takes time, and you know that, and you say you have an intervention. I'm questioning you on the quality of your intervention and the extent to which it then gives you the legitimacy to come on air and say that you have resolved the problem with generators when you can't even tell us how many generators you have, and at any given point which villages are being serviced by which generators. That again gives you the legitimacy to say, but we are responding to the problem in this way.
No, Kathy, I did indicate to you we have 359 villages. I will not have a list of villages that says, here we are talking generator, here we are talking Eskom. That I will not have.
But you should. But you should.
No, Casey. I will not have that list.
No, why do you think it's unreasonable? Or just tell me, why do you think it's unreasonable for me to expect you to have that information?
No, I did indicate to you that with the work that we're doing, all of these water supply issues, as and when we get to resolve them, even the issues of bowls become secondary because they become
right now they are not secondary. Right now they're not secondary because these villages don't have water. That's why Percy and Diro are on air.
We came here, you had a guest who talked about board, and we're able to tell you that we have sent generators there, and that is a village that the caller was talking about. Perhaps if you were to talk about other villages to say, well, in this village, what is your supply? Then I will be able to talk. But for me to then go and say, from this 359, we have this village here in this ward that is getting water, that I will not have.
Why do you think it's unreasonable? Because the Mopani district municipality is in charge of those services anyway, are you not?
We are.
Yes. So why do you think it's unreasonable that you should be expected to have those answers?
Is there a particular village that you want to talk about, or you want the?
You're failing to answer questions. You're failing to answer questions even on the very village, or on the very municipality that our listeners have been raising questions about. I'm going to bring in more of their views. Diro, let me come to you before I bring in our listeners. Hello, Diro. Yes, any contribution you want to make before I take callers?
I just want to make clear, I just hear the guy saying that the ball is working. The ball is not working. I've stated when I started the conversation that instead of solving the problem, they've removed or spilled the pumps working there and they replaced with the small pump that is not accurate to take the water to the reservoir. I even wrote to the mayor also indicating that the generator that they dropped there It's just there to stand. It's not working. The pump has been removed. The pipes has been removed. No water. We are not getting water at all in that village. So they can go and check by himself today. You'll get the security who's guarding the pump there. You see that what he's saying is a lie. And I'm very much so say in the radio station that someone is lying. And the other issue is regarding the water project that he says the border community is fighting. We have never fight. The problem, the contractor doesn't have material to work there. You don't have materials at all. You can go today and send someone. Since December, they come with the mech of water, Mr. Maluku, to apologize to our chief, saying that they will resolve the issue before the 28th of February, but the reservoir still not erected. It's lying to the listeners.
Okay.
People are not getting water. He knows very well that they've removed the pump that was meant to serve people and replaced with the small pump that is not good for purpose.
Okay, Diro, thanks. Loward, you of course triggered this conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Let me cut to the chase, please. Mr. Ngoveni is trying to fanfuck us, and we understand he's the spin doctor of that district municipality. Most of what is articulating there, those are false words, Cathy. The bottom line here is that the district municipality has failed to do or to perform their obligations according to the Constitution, Cathy. And then the reason why we raised this, is because there is corruption which has been uncovered in the municipality, and Mr. Ngoveni cannot deny that. Simply because the project, it's a project, the drilling project of the boreholes, it was not done in a correct or procedural way. There is a legislative guideline called the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act 5 of 2000, which should have been abided with or complied with, and it was not complied with by the municipality. That's why now we are trying, but everything has been shoddy in terms of bore drilling system in our localities.
Okay.
It's not only the border village. It's a lot of localities, Cathy. So he has to be truthful, and then they have to manage their ways.
Okay. MJ, you're in Giani. Good morning.
Hello, Kate. How are you?
Go for it, MJ.
I'm good. Yo. Hi. Okay, I don't know where to start, Kate, but through my viewpoint and as a resident of Greater Guyana Municipality, lack of capacity, lack of way forward. First of all, if you can ask Mr. Ngoveni, how much are they spending daily in outsourcing the water tank that are supplying those local villages? That's the other way of printing money from the government that they can't even account. Yes, they are prolonging the process of water reticulation in Guyana. Number two, we have the Groot Letaba and the Middle Letaba, which are perennial stream river. They are flowing out throughout the year. But the Middle Letaba is being closed by the ZZ2 farmers under their leadership. Yes, even now it's raining all over the country, but the Middle Letaba doesn't have water. The God give us water to drink for free. Hence they are pushing the issue that we should get the salt water. How dare you are? The people of Zumeri and the people of Talabura, they can feed by the river that is there, the Groot Letaba. Let us not go for money, guys. Let us not go for money. Let me rest my case there.
All right.
Thank you.
MJ out in Giani. Kefis, you are in Bode in Giani, and of course Bode is also one of the areas where the issue, the contestation around this borehole that the municipality says works is taking place, but US residents are saying that it doesn't work.
Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for taking me. I really appreciate for this time. It's Kaifas from Bode. Mr. Ngoveni order they actually know me. What he was explaining here, unfortunately, I have right to say it was misleading the listeners, was misleading whoever was listening to this show. It's all lies. We are struggling. I'm staying in border. We are suffering about water. And now when it also involved the matter of water reticulation, he's supposed to not even state it. That is the worst project that he's supposed to not even indicate. One of those people who was appointed on that project is talking about the water reticulation. There is nothing is moving. It's been 3 years. The other villages, they start that project before us border. The job is done. All the job is done. They are benefiting water. It's only border that they are not benefiting. What I can say to you, Kate, they appointed crooks on that project. I'm talking about the main contractor is a crook with benefit. There's municipality inside. The Guyana municipality benefiting out of the project that he was talking about it earlier on. They appointed the wrong people to do that project because they can able to control them in terms of finances. The money is finished. The subcontract never benefits nothing. I was person of those people. They frustrated us. We end up quit. No one benefits out of 58 million rands. The engineers, which is HWA, they are not doing nothing. I can tell you right now.
So Caiphus, tell me more about this 58 million rand. Was it 58 million to erect the boreholes?
The 58 million is the one that he tried to switch. That benefit body is going to benefit out of the new project that are busy with it, the new reticulation. That's the 58 million that I'm talking about. But the reservoir, where I'm staying, people, they are using wheelbarrows. They can't even able to buy water because of, there's no job. People are suffering. That matter of borehole, there is nothing that is happening. And those boreholes is drilled by the huge money, over almost million rand. Those guys are benefiting. So drilling something that needs only 40,000 rand. But also the community are not getting water. He was not clear to you guys or even the community. I'm shaking. I'm sorry. He was lying. Let me say that. I'm not even afraid to say that. There is nothing is moving. We are suffering. There is no water. Let me put it like that. He's doing duck and dive. He should know how many generators, as much as you know how many boreholes. That question we're asking is irrelevant.
Caiphus, let me thank you for calling in and for giving us at least your perspective. I don't know if we've ever had a municipal watch where we've had callers to this extent calling in and talking about how the municipal representative is simply lying about the state of affairs. And you can hear the frustration in the listeners' voices, and they're all from the area. We're going to continue with this. We'll give him a right of reply, and then we'll wrap up with our other representatives shortly.
Day 15. Location undisclosed. Mood brave. Music Eye of the Tiger. Dear Diary, it's been 2 weeks of epic challenges against some of the most memorable and epic Survivor contestants. I have endured some harsh weather conditions, unbelievable drama, and these fire tokens have given me and the other contestants a second chance to stay in the game. Food. I feast on the defeat of my enemies. Vumi over there is busy planning and scheming, thinking that he can get me off the island. Never mind though. I will win this and take home $2 million. We're gonna be rich, Papa.
Rich Goopy Wanaponani, are you doing that thing again? Come and get your dinner, Mr. Fake Diary Sessions. We're now on Survivor. Oh, the world will fall.
Catch Survivor Season 40, Winners at War, Thursdays at 6 p.m. Starts 27 February on S3. Open up.
The Chili Boys have a top-class game plan to relocate from the bottom half. But Babina Noko prefer a position in the top 5. This is the Betway Premiership. United battles it out with United. Witness Mzansi's beautiful game. Chipa United FC versus Sikukune United FC. This Saturday, 22 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Top stories of this hour. Memorial service for 3 of 14 SANDF soldiers underway, and Lamula speaks on the U.S. representation at the G20 summit. For SAFM News, I am Ondilambana, and a very good morning. A memorial service for 3 of the 14 South African soldiers killed in the DRC is underway at a Tempe military base in Bloemfontein. They are Staff Sergeant Ishmael Mohlahlana, as well as Rifleman Sidiso Mabele and Joseph Mobe. The soldiers were killed in a fierce fighting between the M23 rebels and the Congolese military in the eastern DRC. The funerals of the soldiers will take place this weekend. And the civil society organization Budget Justice Coalition says that implementing a 2 percentage point VAT increase could have sparked social upheaval among already economically burdened and impoverished communities. This follows dramatic scenes that played out yesterday, with the budget that Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana was about to table being scrapped due to Government of National Unity Partners disagreements. Matsidi Solingwasa is the coalition's chairperson.
When we saw the VAT increase by 2%, like my heart just fell, because I just anticipated social upheaval. I think we know that in this country, South Africans are bearing such a heavy burden of the economy and economic situations. We know our poverty rates are persistent. Unemployment hasn't been eradicated at the rate that it should be. And can you imagine this, in addition to that, a higher cost of living? That would have been crazy.
The authorities in Limpopo have urged spaza shop owners that have not yet registered their businesses to finalize their applications as the deadline looms. Spaza shop owners have only 1 week left before the February the 28th deadline. In Limpopo, more than 480 applications received so far are from foreign nationals. More than 4,400 other applications have been finalized since the start of the registration process in the province. Provincial Economic Development Department spokesperson Zaid Kala.
The department would like to remind all those interested in operating a spaza shop that the registration processes will be coming to an end on the 28th of February 2025. We encourage our people to utilize the remaining week applying for spaza shop business license or permit. It will be highly displeasing to see unregistered owners within such a lucrative sector having to close shop due to non-compliance.
International Relations Minister Ronald Lamula says the U.S. is not completely boycotting South Africa. He says it will be represented at the G20 summit later this year. Lamula says the U.S. will also be represented at a very high level at the first meeting of the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors in Cape Town next week. Lamula was speaking after the 16th session of the European Union South Africa Ministerial Political Dialogue in the mother city.
Our U.S. Embassy mission in Washington, it's engaging all the relevant strategic partners. Engagement is ongoing, and when there is an outcome, we will be able to share with the South African public. We remain optimistic that the engagement has to happen.
The G20 organizing team says South Africa's presidency will ensure that all global pressing issues are dealt with before the group's main summit later this year. President Cyril Ramaphosa will today officially open the G20 foreign ministers meeting in Johannesburg. G20 Sherpa advocate Nokukanya Jele says pertinent matters will be discussed at senior level to ensure that the work of the group's work is not derailed. Jele's responsibility as a Sherpa is to take the discussions and agreements to the final summit with heads of state and government.
One of the ways to ensure that geopolitical issues and substance matters do not derail discussions is to ensure that those working groups focus on a very clear delineated mandate that's been spelt out in issue notes that have been distributed with all of our partners in the G20 countries. And they focus on those critical substantive issues, whether it's debt sustainability or it's the matter of critical minerals beneficiation.
Recapping the top story, a memorial service for 3 of the 14 South African soldiers killed in the DRC is underway at the Tempe military base in Bloemfontein. I am Ondela for SFM News headlines at 11:30 with Kulufelo Defu.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
The Chili Boys have a top-class game plan to relocate from the bottom half. But Babina Noko prefer a position in the top 5. This is the Betway Premiership. United battles it out with United. Witness Mzansi's beautiful game. Chipa United FC versus Sikukune United FC. This Saturday, 22 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Good morning, Cathy. What I've noticed is that the leaders in Mopani district municipality are trying their best. However, the communities, especially the one that is affected most, if the community decides to steal from their own, and after that they suffer, there are some people within the community that they are sabotaging each other. How can you steal or vandalize the borehole that is meant to help you? So the leaders, they keep up the good work, but the community must actually introspect and try to stop this thing of vandalizing their own, especially electricity and borehole and stealing the cables there. Thank you.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. The person you are talking to just now, he doesn't even go to those areas of the municipality. He doesn't even go. Even where there is a problem of water, he doesn't even go, because when you're asking him how many boreholes, he doesn't even want to tell you how many boreholes. When you ask him, okay, how many generators, he doesn't even know again. So which means this guy is always in the office. He doesn't even visit to those places. I don't know who is telling him all those lies, which I can say is lies, because he is not having concrete evidence of what he is saying, you know. It's Jacob from Jamestown.
Morning, Cathy. It's Judy here from KZN. It's just ludicrous that these guys are looking at electricity for boreholes and not looking at solar solutions, and then just relying on generators, mobile generators that they carry around. Surely somebody's thought of a more permanent solution using renewables. Thank you.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, you're listening to The Talking Point. It is the final hour of the show. No, you are not wrong. We've just extended Municipal Watch by an extra 10 minutes to give our guests an opportunity to respond, number one, to the issues that have been raised within the previous hour of the show before we wrap things up and get into our final conversation of the day. So, Otis, before we went to news, you would have heard my comments. Every listener that has called in throughout this show has been from your area. They rely on services delivered by your municipality, and they are common in saying one thing, which is that you have been misleading in this conversation, that you are lying about the state of affairs. Let me give you an opportunity to respond to that.
Cathy, we have never sought to paint a picture that says water supply in Mopani is perfect. I think from the start we did indicate that we have challenges. And part of the reasons why we would be implementing these short-term interventions will be specifically to address those challenges, as and when we try to work on longer-term solutions, like in this case. Of course, the Guyana Water Project is delayed. But if you were to go to Guyana, you will see there is discernible progress that has been made. At least some communities are now getting water direct into their household. The issue of border, to be specific, and I think it's unfortunate that Mr. Mtombe may not be here in this meeting, on this platform anymore. Mr. Mtombe sits in our multitask team that meets every month to receive reports in terms of the projects that we're implementing in Guyana. He will tell you why we have had to move the project that we're supposed to implement in both around these struggles on the issues of chieftains. And that will explain why even Mr. Mashinji is coming here saying it's from the Royal House. I'm sure most people in Guyana will tell you they don't know of Mashinji Royal House. There are issues there. But the biggest challenge that we've had, which at a particular point, as and when we're engaging with the community, including in December, was around issues of how we're not able to move, the issues of vandalism that have been happening in most of these communities. I think one of your callers also talked about the issue of the solar energy. It's something that we tried as well to pilot, working with the BSA, but they were also vandalized. I think it's much easier for people to steal from the solar panels than perhaps it is with your electricity. Water supply is a challenge in Mopani. It's something that we've considered from the word go, but there are efforts that, of course, we've been making. The one issue that I think I may as well clarify, Cathy, before we go, it's around the issue of the corruption that is said to have happened around boreholes. And I think it's lower that says we have uncovered corruption that happened in Mopani in December. Look, we have suspended the chief financial officer together with the official that was responsible for supply chain management. But it has nothing to do with the work that we are doing around issues of water supply in communities. The CFO is suspended, is going through a disciplinary hearing, will be able to answer to the charges. But in the main, the issue is that there was a supplier that was appointed who is not on the panel of our suppliers that the municipality is aware of. So it has nothing to do with the issues of boards, which is something that I thought we should be clarifying to members of the public. Thanks very much, Kev.
Diro, anything you want to add before I let you go?
Yes, what we want as a solution, we want the Guyana municipality to bring back the bowl that they've removed because there's never been stolen. I was there, the engineers removed it in front of me. They must bring it back and make connect to another that is sitting there because that's the problem. When it comes to issue of vandalism, they know very well that they erected that bowl with purpose because the time the vandalism happened, there was no security that been put in place. Understand? And we did go to ESCOM and explain to them that they've been vandalism to find out the municipality itself made illegal connection through the old farm infrastructure that was left by the farmer there. Then they know very well what happened with that line. So they might come now they say the community has vandalized the line. They know very well that was the plan in the first place to connect electricity illegally, but when ESCOM questioned them, they decided to go and vandalize them themselves because they never have a forced entry in the plant. It was open, done correctly, with deliberately so to maneuver from ESCOM.
Okay. You're accusing the municipality of illegal connections, Diro?
Yes.
All right.
Electricity, they took the electricity from the old farm infrastructure that was left by the farmer there. We did go to ESCOM as a community to check, to find out that line it was illegally connected.
Mm.
And then when they found out that they are in the boiling water, they decided go to fix everything that was there.
Sure. Is that true, Odas?
It's very difficult to respond to such allegations, Kate. As much as it's also difficult for me to respond to the allegations that the borehole is not working. Because the report that we have with the executive mayor, together with videos, is that the borehole is working. We have a generator that is there that we've assigned to assist the community in that particular village. That is why it will be very difficult for me to say, well, the community is getting water or is not getting water. But from the reports that we have together with the executive mayor, which is something that unfortunately we will not be able to share because this is a radio interview. We have videos that were shared immediately after the executive mayor gave an instruction. Our team went there. They were able to make assessment.
When was this?
And it is the team. He had an interview in December.
But it's now February. It's the 20th of February. So if somebody who's in the community, either way, if somebody in the community is saying it's not working today.
They went there to do an assessment, and the assessment then indicated that we'll need a 3-phase generator. Then we're able to procure the 3-phase generator, and the team went back there in January. The executive mayor is sitting with the proof that the borehole is working. I also have the proof that the borehole is working.
Yes, but if somebody's saying to you today that it's not working, then surely it's something to be looked into.
No, of course.
Yes, let's leave it at that. Yeah, let's leave it at that. Percy?
Thanks very much once again, Cathy. You see, let me apologize again for coming in late because I think there are a lot of issues that we should have discussed in my presence. Cathy, we must always remember that Mr. Odas Ngoweni is a spokesperson at the municipality, and he relies on information given to him. So let's not blame him that much. As you can see, that he's failing to answer most of your questions. Cathy, there's a huge problem. If you look at the Middle Tower Dam, now it has been raining for maybe 2 to 3 weeks now, but it's still empty. We have a problem of ZZ2, and the leadership that we have now is failing to address that particular issue. And another issue that I wanted to talk about, Cathy, Mopani, it's very clear that Mopani have the capacity in terms of their finances to deal with the water issues in Ghana. But the problem is the corruption that we have in that district. That municipality has a lot of corruption. If you can check, Cathy, we have a director. Maybe I think in place of Mr. Odas, you should have brought Director Shiloh. You would be surprised that this is the person that is dealing with the water issues in the whole of Mopani district now. The way these guys are failing the people of Giyani and the district as a whole is very much alarming.
All right, Percy, we're going to have to leave it there. Look, it looks like there's an endless list of issues, but you get the gist of where we are on the water question.
Good morning, Sis Cathy, and your guest there. Sis Cathy, Odas Ngoweni, upala kwa answer the question Joe Musa John. cause ba ntšha di-tendera ka mo mopane ka mo ba fa ditšhomi tša bona ba dia diboholo tšona di tšwele metsi sa bona ko ntšha di-tendera tša dimilione ba dia diboholo tsa sentšhe le metsi ra sokola ka metsi ka mo Greater Tzaneen Municipality. Thanks, Doni Machaba.
Hello, Cathy. It's Tammy here in East London. Yeah, Cathy, it looks like these ANC people just enjoy making the ordinary citizen to suffer. I mean, this lack of accountability is a very big problem in the progress of this government. How can a person like this come to on air without proper information? And definitely, the mayor is not going to discipline that person. He's not going to discipline them at all. It starts from the top with this ANC. We really cannot wait for next year to get rid of these people.
Hello, Cathy and SAFM listeners. It's Jeff from George. Just my short and sweet input on this morning's Municipal Watch. Week in, week out, I listen to these gentlemen and ladies coming up, these officials, and when you ask them the question of how many, or the statistics, or the number of this, number of that, and they can't give you answers on. Not just I'm flabbergasted, not just for them not preparing for the interview on national radio, but Cathy, you asked them, you expected to know this. Please, next time ask them every week, but you're getting paid to know this. You're getting paid to have that knowledge. You're getting paid to know the numbers. Ask them every week. The listeners will appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Cathy. I'm happy when I'm listening to your line of questioning, because that thing's exposed the Mopani district that they are not taking the issue of water in Guyana very seriously. So, but thank you very much, because today they have been exposed. Those people are totally not serious about that issue of water in that municipality of Guyana. So thank you very much for that. Others, I know him very well, that wherever he's going, he knows that he's going to pass very well. But here, you expose them. Thank you very much. Keshinam Kasindambe Village, thanks.
Reigning African champions Banyana Banyana are gearing up to defend their WAFCON title in Morocco. Dr. Ellis and the girls want to deny neighbors Lesotho a moment to shine. But Mohlahlana believe their game plan is too great to stop. This is the international friendly. Experience the Southern African Derby, South Africa versus Lesotho, on Saturday, 22 February at 12:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 2. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, well, let's get into our final conversation of the day, which is in conversation with the Legal Practice Council. Joining us is Margaret van Wyk, who is the Provincial Director of the LPC in the Free State. Margaret, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Thank you for your time as well, and I greet you and your listeners.
Of course, this morning we're speaking to you because we want to find out what recourse people have when they are dealing with legal representatives that have either been dishonest with them or that have simply abandoned them. Because we often get complaints from some of our listeners who say they were about to have CCMA cases. Those didn't go ahead as planned because their lawyers just didn't show up, or even being represented on any other platform. And we want to know what it is that people can do when they find themselves in those situations, and also how often you see matters like this arising.
Okay, Cathy. Before I start to say what recourse they have, I want your listeners to understand that we are the regulatory body of the legal profession. We are regulating both the advocates and the attorneys, and it's our mandate to protect members of the public against misconduct of legal practitioners, as well as those who tend or purport to be legal practitioners. Now, in instances where a member of the public has not been satisfactorily assisted by a legal practitioner, the person has the opportunity to come to the Legal Practice Council. We have 9 offices all over the country, and our offices, in order for them to get information where our offices are, our website is info at www.lpc.org.za. You can lay a complaint. And also on the website that I provided, we have complaint forms for them to complete the form and submit to the LPC, whereby we will investigate the alleged misconduct conducted by the legal practitioner. Should it be proven that upon investigation there was indeed a misconduct, we either suspend the legal practitioner in that that person can no longer practice as an attorney. Now, your second question of people often not showing up when they have appointed attorneys to or advocates to assist them. I want listeners to please also visit the Legal Practice Council website to ensure that the person they are instructing is indeed a legal practitioner. Because most of the time you'd find that these people do not pitch at court because they are not enrolled with the Legal Practice Council. They are not legal practitioners. We do also find people who are legal practitioners who just don't honor the agreement and don't show up at court or at the CCMA, as you have stated. In this instance as well, we do receive complaints of such matters and such natures. It's quite a lot of complaints that we receive, Cathy. I have to say to you that last year, only in 2023, the Legal Practice Council had about 7,900 complaints received against legal practitioners.
That is quite a high number. Is that 7,000 cases nationally or just in your province?
No, that's nationally, Cathy, not just in my province.
All right. We're going to continue the conversation with Margaret shortly. You heard her run through just some of the instances that one would have legitimate grounds to lay a complaint against their legal representative. We'll continue with this conversation shortly. I'll also be taking your questions for Margaret. If you're one of those that have been caught up in that kind of situation with your legal representatives, where they've either not honored their agreement you had with them or they've not shown up to represent you as has been agreed. I'll take your calls on 086 000 2032 is the number to dial, 086 000 2032, and on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107.
Good morning, I'm Kulofelo, therefore with the headlines. 3 people have been killed in a mudslide at Winkelspruit, south of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. In one incident, it is alleged that a mudslide crashed into a house with a family of 4 inside. The Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, CONTRALESA, has commended political parties in the Government of National Unity who opposed proposed VAT increase. In a memorial service for 3 of the 14 South African soldiers killed in the DRC is underway at the Tempi military base in Bloemfontein. Details at 12.
The giants of French rugby, Bordeaux and Clermont Auvergne, are fighting for a massive victory to cement top 5 positions. This is the top 14. Rugby the French way. Catch the huge contest between Bordeaux Union and Clermont Auvergne on Sunday, 23 February at 10 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Dr. Nikki Alexander, Dr. Thomas Chamberlain, and Dr. Jack Hodgson form a dedicated team of forensic pathologists who try to work out how and why the victim died. This series sees Nikki investigate a murder that's a carbon copy of a case from her past. She soon suspects that the killings are personal to her. But who will believe her? Meanwhile, Jack creates tension when he finds himself aligned with a police complaints investigator over the accidental shooting of a girl by armed police. And a seemingly random killing in the remote countrysides leads Nikki and Jack into the dangerous underbelly of a criminal world. This is Silent Witness, Thursdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. Starts 20 February only on S3. Open up.
Cathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
Margaret van Wyk is the Provincial Director at the Legal Practice Council in the Free State, and she joins us now to speak about the recourse that members of the public have when it comes to legal representatives that act dishonestly or that breach whatever agreement it is that they have with you as their client. What is it then that you can do? Margaret, if you can maybe talk to us about the process that the LPC follows when it comes to then taking steps against these individuals, or what the process of investigating the complaints against them entails.
Thank you, Cathy. Now, once we've received the complaint from the member of the public against the legal practitioner, we do give the oli ultim partem, meaning we do have to hear both sides of the story. So we send the complaint to the legal practitioner to respond. And once we receive a response from the legal practitioner, we would send it again to the complainant to respond upon the legal practitioner's response. Now, those two responses, Cathy, that's what we place before the investigation committee to consider the responses and to determine whether there was misconduct. Should they find that there was misconduct and it's of a serious nature, when I say serious nature, I want to make examples of where people's monies were stolen and there's sufficient proof that monies were paid into the account of the practitioner. We approach court on an urgent basis to bring a suspension application. Now, the court process is like that any other normal court process whereby the LPC is the litigant. We apply on behalf of the complainant to court to get the legal practitioner suspended. In other instances where the complaint was not, the misconduct was not of a serious nature, the legal practitioner can either be fined or be warned. And in instances where there's prima facie evidence of no misconduct, the legal practitioner's matter is dismissed. But in all these processes, Cathy, we do inform the member of the public of our steps and of our progress in the matter. Should we dismiss the matter, the council does provide reasons why the matter is dismissed. Should a member of the public not be satisfied with the dismissal, we have an appeals process, which we also inform members of the public that should you not be satisfied with the outcome, you are more than welcome to appeal.
I've got a question here from Matari in Gauteng who says, can we also submit complaints about non-attendance of old labour cases by the Labour Court and CCMA?
Yes, Cathy. Any matter whereby the member of the public provided fees to the attorneys to attend to a matter and the attorney failed to attend to the matter can be referred to the LPC as a complaint.
So there's no prescription date then for when that complaint can be made?
You know, Cathy, in terms of the Legal Practice Act, there's no prescription in terms of when the complaint can be laid. But I do want to caution members of the public to say that in terms of the very same act, which is the Legal Practice Act, legal practitioners, including the LPC, we are only compiled to hold records for 7 years. So if you're going to bring a complaint that is older than 10 years, I'm going to make an example of a RAF matter, and there is no evidence at all, it is going to be problematic proving your matter beyond reasonable doubt.
Okay. Let me go to Tsakane. Temba, good morning to you.
Morning, Cathy.
Yes, do you want to explain what your issue with your legal practitioner has been?
Yeah, my issue with the legal practitioner here, we had cases. We are currently having cases that needs to be attended to, but some of the cases he has not attended, not even a single case. Yes, not even a single case he has attended. But the lawyer, just to keep it to put it on record, the lawyer is not paid. The lawyer is not paid. We just found the lawyer. I think it's situated in Springs. Yeah, it's situated in Springs. So it's not a lawyer that is paid. I think illegally they say those are pro bono lawyers. So it's just he was helping us with these cases with regard to the employer that is not complying with everything. So he's no longer appearing. So we don't understand. But the lawyer is saying he's not feeling very well. Sometimes he tells us that he's still in hospital. On the first appearance that he was supposed to make, he didn't come to court to appear at the bargaining council. So now we don't know what we can do with that. We don't know what to do.
Margaret,
to do with
what advice would you have for them?
Come again?
Thank you.
No, just hold on, Temba. Margaret is going to give you advice.
Okay.
Thank you, Cathy. Cathy, I think before, I heard Temba said it's a pro bono. What Temba must ascertain is who appointed the pro bono attorney. If it is the Legal Practice Council that appointed the pro bono attorney on behalf of Temba, I just want to highlight that in as much as pro bono, there is still disbursements that the applicant or the pro bono person, being Temba in this instance, must pay. If it's legal aid, then no payments and disbursements can be done. But if the issue is about the attorney not finalizing the matter or neither attending to the matter, also, I advise Temba to go to the Gauteng Provincial Council. That's if he's based in Gauteng. I'm not sure whether he said he's in Gauteng or not. And go lay a complaint against the attorney for failing to finalize the mandate or failing to perform in terms of the instruction provided to him.
So Temba is saying that this particular lawyer had agreed to assist him and his colleagues pro bono.
Yes, Cathy.
So it looks like he might have his own practice and just wanted to assist them. So is that the same as when you are paying? Do you follow the same steps?
It's the same, Cathy.
Okay.
It comes down to the conduct of the practitioner. And in terms of the code of conduct, when you accept instructions, you must see to it that you finalize the instruction unless you release yourself from those instructions.
Fair enough. Muvango, you're in Polokwane. Good morning.
Hey, mine is... I just want to congratulate the LPC for what they've done to me. I've been robbed too much money. I can't even mention it here on air. But the way the LPC in Limpopo treated my matter, even though it has been some time ever since I've reported the matter, the delay was caused by they moved the office and some of the officials, they left and so on, but that is not a problem. What I want to say is that those people at the LPC, if most of our government institutions were working like them, I'm telling you, we would have been somewhere. We would have been getting to somewhere to better green pastures, let me put it in that way. They are so good. They are so, how can I put it? They are so straightforward. They are so faithful. They are so hardworking, and I'm very happy. I just wanted to say that, and maybe lastly, I just want to dispute the figure of the lawyers that the LPC is dealing with. Every day when I go there, I see new faces of people complaining. I've seen the trolleys full of files and so on. And then I just imagined that these lawyers, they are more than 7,000, to be honest. But all what I can say is that let these people do what they are doing. I told them that the LPC that they are very good. So please, my prayers are with them every day.
And Muvango, have you recovered those monies yet?
That lawyer was dilly-dallying until he agreed that he took my money, and he said he was going to pay. I think the first installment was in August last year. He never paid anything, and I went there. They are taking him to DC, and maybe your guest he will be the best person to explain what happens at DC. But I think the Pops will dance there.
All right. Okay. All right, Muvango. Glad to hear you had such a pleasant experience. Anonymous, you're in Bloom. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Cathy, I've got a situation, but I'm not directly involved. I'm indirectly assisting with the legal fees for my brother who's accused of assault. The challenge here is the lawyer. Each time when he make payments, the lawyer doesn't give a receipt. And the last time when I insisted, I pushed him for the lawyer to ask for a receipt. The lawyer is also dilly-dallying. And the last week when he appeared in court, when he pushed for a receipt, the lawyer then bolted and said, "Yo, I should have charged you the full price." So I feel that we are being taken for a ride where we are paying lawyer, but we are not getting the receipt. What is the recourse in this case?
Margaret?
Thank you, Cathy. Cathy, in terms of the act, and I want to tell Anonymous as well that the attorney must account to the person that he is receiving monies from. You are entitled to a receipt. You are entitled to a statement of account whereby the attorney states exactly what he has done with your funds and how much is left and how much is needed. And even that, before you even pay monies, because I hear you say he actually should have charged correctly, the attorney must sit down with you and provide you an estimate of how much is going to be needed for this matter. So you can also lay a complaint with us, and we will investigate this matter and try to determine for you what is happening with the fees that you have paid and why have you not received your receipts.
What Anonymous, were the payments that you made, were those via bank transfer or was it cash?
It's cash. Kitty.
Yeah. Margaret, at some point, even when he comes to you, he'll need to prove that he's in fact paid over these monies. And I can see a very easy case of the legal representative saying it hasn't happened, and because it didn't, it wasn't transferred into their account, very difficult to trace.
And actually, just to chip in there, Kathy, initially the first time when I paid, I asked for my younger brother because he's the one who's involved. I asked to ask the lawyer to give me the account, but he flatly refused. He wanted it cash. So that's where I had the initial problem. And even now, I'm still paying for him. But as your guest said that we need to get a statement of account, I think that is the right way. And because what the lawyer is doing, in my opinion, he's taking us for a ride because he's not opening his books. He's playing like his cards close to his chest, saying that he's giving us a discount, but not telling us actually what is he charging us for how much.
If I may, Cathy, the fact that this legal practitioner does not want to provide or have his funds paid into the trust account, it should raise a great alarm to the anonymous. Reason being, all monies must be paid into the trust account. Whether you paid cash at the office, the attorney must pay it in the trust account. And up until the mandate has been finalized, because whatever monies a member of the public pays to a legal practitioner, those monies still do not belong to the legal practitioner up until the mandate has been completed. And I want members of the public to be cautious as well when it comes to paying money. who are you giving your money? Because you can't just give your money to any legal practitioner. They must have a valid Fidelity Fund certificate. And in order to satisfy yourself that the person you are giving money has a Fidelity Fund certificate, please contact the LPC or look on the Legal Practitioners Fidelity Fund website, as well as the LPC website. We have people who, a list of people who must be in possession of Fidelity Funds. Now, like Cathy has said, Anonymous, if you haven't received any receipts, and he didn't deposit the money properly in his trust account, it is going to be he said against kind of situation, unless you can clearly provide us with a mandate to say this is the mandate that we have agreed upon, and with your witnesses of the fees that have been paid.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Anonymous, all the best, hey?
Thank you, Kathy.
Sure. Butinkonki, Soweto, good morning.
I can see you're almost out of time, Kathy. Can I proceed?
Go ahead.
Kathy, I once sent you a message around. I approached the legal, the legal aid to assist me in a particular labor dispute, and they agreed to assist me. However, though, they didn't follow certain rules or labor law rules up until the court, that is the labor court, dismissed my case on the basis that they didn't submit 1, 2, 3, and 4 documents. And now I had to approach the legal practice council to say, these people failed me. They are lawyers. Legally, they are lawyers. And they agreed to assist me, to appoint a lawyer. They appointed 3 lawyers. All of the 3 lawyers said that they are not doing the kind of dispute I was bringing against the legal aid. Up until my case prescribed, I heard her saying that they don't prescribe. Up I heard that the case prescribed, and this was dealt by the office in Pretoria. That's the head of the legal practice in Pretoria. And still from then, nothing happened. It prescribed, nothing happened. But in the end, it gives the sense that I was failed by the people who were supposed to help me.
Buti, how long ago was this matter?
No, it prescribed long time ago. I think this is a matter that transpired around 2015, 2014.
Okay.
And when it prescribed, it was in 2017. In 2018, I discussed with you through an SMS or a WhatsApp. But I'm still hurt because how many people, at least I'm not a layperson to the point that I don't understand my rights. I could have done this case by myself, but I'm saying they can follow these cases so then it cannot happen again to other people.
All
Once
right.
a person is felt betrayed by the institution that are supposed to help them, what else do we do? Why is it happening to poor people? Why is it not happening to those who have money? These are the things that we need to look at. I don't want to challenge and say, no, you are lying. But I'm saying professionally that it's unpalatable for a person to go to the institution that's supposed to assist a person and up to the end that you heard that the case is prescribed and therefore there's nothing that can be done.
Okay.
That's really happening with the case.
I hear you, Butinkonki. Thanks for that input. So
Please,
that's really...
Katie.
Yes, quickly.
Please, Katie, if it's possible, give me the number of the lady so then I can brief her deep in details of to expatiate on this case. Maybe in the some future she will come across and see that exactly that person needs to be helped.
Okay.
Please,
Okay,
Honor,
Buti, I'm going to have to leave it there with you for this morning. Margaret, let me give you then a last word, please, very briefly for me.
Yes, Cathy. Thank you, Cathy, for this time. All we want to do, like I stated in our mandate, is to protect members of the public. But it becomes very difficult to protect them once their hard-earned funds has already fallen down the drain and not recoverable. So before I plead to your listeners, before they pay any funds into any attorney's account, Verify first if the person is an attorney, and then secondly, make sure that if they are indeed an attorney, they have a valid certificate to practice for that year, because not everyone is supposed to be taking monies without a Fidelity Fund certificate.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, and for everybody else that tuned in. It's been a pleasure being in conversation with you. The show back with you again tomorrow. Is tomorrow Friday? Sure, this week has just gone by so quickly. So we'll be back with you again tomorrow, Friday, wrapping up the week that has been. Up next is the book reading.
The book reading. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents the last episode of the book These Things Really Do Happen to Me by Kaya Dlang, read by Lerato Mvelase.
The challenges Black professionals face in the workplace continues. There is also the false idea that affirmative action means kicking people out of jobs. The way I see it, it means creating an expanding economy. Giving a Black person a job does not mean getting rid of a white person. In another chapter, I've spoken about how being in a privileged position with access to financial, educational, and networking opportunities can greatly influence a person's success in life. The reality of South Africa's history is that Black people have not had access to these opportunities, but instead have often had to work twice as hard as their white counterparts simply to be given half the chances. Someone who does not experience this, who does not live it, will view affirmative action as Black entitlement rather than an attempt to set things right. I've been hearing some disturbing accounts about what is happening in deserving Black talent in some industries. One such story involved a Black person working for a reputable firm in the financial sector. A senior individual was vacating a position, and for 2 years, it was a given in the organization that this Black female would logically fill the post. She had been with the firm for some time and had been performing some of the tasks already. When the time came, even after she'd been preparing for the position for 2 years, she was passed over and the job was given to someone who was her junior and white. A staff member in the HR department questioned this decision, but the HR head simply explained that the order to pass over the Black woman for a junior white person came from above and there was nothing he could do. Now, this is the dilemma Black people often face. As I've explained in another chapter, as a Black person, your abilities at work are often doubted simply because you are Black. In many work environments, you have to prove over and over again that you are good enough. Your mistakes are scrutinized more. While you are seen to have potential, your white colleague is regarded as someone who is already ready for the next step. I recently heard of one case where the directors of a financial institution were talking about how they had produced the highest number of qualified Black people. An intern asked, "How come there isn't a single Black person in senior management then?" He was told that his question was ridiculous. When his internship ended, he did not get paid. These questions are not ridiculous. They are important, and the answers, even when they are complex, are just as important. These conversations may be uncomfortable for the Black professionals who fear stagnation or victimization at work for rocking the boat, and for some white employers who would rather not hear about these Black and white issues. But we need to have them, because if we don't, the changes we all need to make will take an even longer time. What I have learned. I have learned, 1, it's never as easy as people think it is. 2, just because it looks like someone had it easy doesn't mean they did. 3, people will criticize you for doing well and will mock you for doing right. Keep doing it anyway. 4, it's easier for us to remember the negative things people say about us than the positive words others say to us. Be deliberate about remembering the positive. 5, you can't make everyone like you. Not everyone will, nor should they. When you try to please everyone, you end up not being pleased with yourself. 6, you don't have all the answers. 7, the most important thing is to be honest with yourself. If you can't be truthful to yourself, you will be hurt easily by what others say about you. 8. When you love yourself, it's hard to hate. 9. No one criticizes your efforts more than an underachiever. 10. Finding your purpose is a lifelong journey. 11. Very few people know what they were born to do. Most of us have to keep discovering the reason for our being, little by little. 12. Life is full of delicious surprises. 13. Never settle for a comfortable existence. 14. It is okay not to know. Acknowledgements. As in, to quote myself, the person I want to thank is my mother, who, after being sent the cover of this book via WhatsApp, responded with, "Khona kutheni uthi ithandwa ngumamakho? Uyifunde phi umamakho waselalini? Xa ndifuna ukuhamba elalini ukufumana umntu, ngubani oza kundifundela andicacisele yona? Why do you say your mom liked it? Where would a simple village woman have read it when I need to walk around the village to find someone who will read it and explain it to me? She has been instrumental in reminding me about parts of my childhood and has a sharp sense of humor that always brings me down to earth. Thank you to my sister, Sigelelwa Dlanga, who continues to be a positive force in my life. She has also helped me to remember many stories, even though some of these may not have made it into this book. They inspired me to write about other memories. I asked Donovan Goliath to work on a cover image for this book because I love the clever conceptual designs he posts on Instagram, @Donovan Goliath. I fell in love with the idea he shared with me as soon as he told me about it. Thank you, Donovan. Let's enter this cover for some awards. I would also like to thank Trevor Noah for taking the time to read through my book and then offering his opinion for us to use on the front cover. About a month before my publisher asked me for my most dashing photograph, Saki Zamxaka had called a few of us over to have fun with his camera in his home studio. One of the pictures we took ended up being used for the cover of this book. Thank you, Saki, for always brandishing your camera. And thanks to the publishing team who has worked with me on all my books. Andrea Natras at Penn Macmillan with her ever-present whip and threads. Kelly Norwood Young, my patient editor who really gets my voice. I insisted on her again for this book. Incidentally, she was pregnant with her first child when she edited To Quote Myself, and her second baby is due shortly after we publish this one. Between babies and my books, she has 4 children. Sean Fraser, the meticulous proofreader, and Kevin Shanton, the layout wizard. There are also many people who have been involved in my stories. Some of these people are close to me. Some I've only met once and will never meet again. Whether for a brief moment or a lifetime, they've all been co-stars in my life, and they've all had an impact. Thank you to every person who has made these stories possible, because through you, I find the joy that is in my life.
That was the last episode of the book These Things Really Do Happen to Me, written by Kaya Dlanga, read by Lerato Mvelase. The book is available online and in all leading bookstores countrywide. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursdays on The Talking Point. It is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Lerato Mvelase, technical production Wiseman Manele, Nanda Khoza, and Tato Mapuruma.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
It's exactly 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 20th of February, 2025. Very warm welcome to Updated Noon here on SAFM. We're leading the conversation that matters. I'm John Gericke, standing in for Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up this hour.
So our effort is to save AGOA by saying to the US, tell South Africa they are contravening this.
Civil organisation AfriForum says the Bela Act is an attack on the existence of the Afrikaner community. And a 2-day meeting of foreign ministers from the G20 group of economies gets underway in Joburg, but one big country is missing. Let's get the latest sports as well. That's coming up after past.
And I'm Liesl Oliveira as the Proteas finalise preparations for their first Champions Trophy match in Karachi tomorrow. Spin bowler Keshav Maharaj says the side is not too bothered about losing their last 6 ODIs. And Pirates could face Sundowns in the quarter-final of the CAF Champions League, with the draw taking place in Doha this afternoon. I'll have more at 12:30.
Sorry, Liesl, I should have introduced you. Share your views with us on 41391, charged at R1.50 SMS. You can give us a call on 086 000 2032, our WhatsApp voice note number 082 692 3909. Or you can post your comments on Twitter or Facebook. You can find us at SABC News_radio. You can reach us with a hashtag #UpdatedNoon. That and more coming up in today's edition of the program. First, though, your latest news with Kolofelo Tifo.
Thanks, John. Top stories this hour. 3 people die in KZN mudslides and Contralesa opposes the proposed VAT increase. Good afternoon. 3 people have been killed in mudslides at Winkelspruit, south of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. In one incident, it is alleged that a mudslide crashed into a house with a family of 4 inside. Emergency services say 2 children managed to escape, leaving the parents trapped inside the house. In a separate incident, 1 person was buried beneath mud and rubble when a landslide crashed into their house. Several roads are flooded across the city due to heavy rains in the province. The Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, Contralesa, says the proposed VAT increase will be disastrous to the poor in the country. Contralesa President Kgoshi Mathupha-Mokoena commended political parties in the Government of National Unity who opposed their proposal. A revised budget speech will be tabled on the 12th of March. Kgoshi Mokoena says it is shocking that the tabling of the budget was postponed.
Consultation about this budget should have happened a long time ago. It is shocking and surprising that some GNU members were only consulted on the day of the tabling of this budget. Contralesa is vehemently opposed to the proposed increase in VAT, and that is going to be disastrous to the poor in this country. We thank all those opposition parties who rejected this increase, something that led to the failed tabling of this budget. We now want to know which organization is supporting this increase.
A memorial service for the 3 of 14 South African soldiers killed in the DRC is underway at the Tempi military base in Bloemfontein. They are Staff Sergeant Cathy Mohlahlana as well as Riflemen Tsidiso Mabele and Joseph Mobe. The soldiers were killed in fierce fighting between the M23 rebels and the Congolese military in eastern DRC. The funerals of the 3 soldiers will take place this weekend. Police are investigating multiple murder and attempted murder cases in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape. This after 3 men were gunned down and another wounded at Wells Estate. Police spokesperson Sandra Jans van Rensburg says police officers received reports of a shooting incident. She says when they went to the premises, they found the 3 bodies and a wounded person who was taken to hospital.
2 victims aged 23 and 32 were inside the vehicle, and a 3rd victim, whose age is unknown at this stage, were outside the vehicle, and the 4th victim was rushed to hospital for treatment. No further information is available at the moment. 3 cases of murder and 1 of attempted murder were open, and the investigation is underway.
And finally, U.S. President Donald Trump says he believes Russia holds all the cards in talks to end the Ukraine war because Russia has taken a lot of Ukrainian territory. Trump says he trusted Russia to negotiate in good faith and he believed Moscow wanted to stop the fighting. The BBC's Merlin Thomas has the details.
This is kind of a throwback to what he initially said when he had that phone call with President Putin a week ago, and that's what sparked this whole backlash and triggered this chain of events. And in that phone call, he said that it was unlikely that Ukraine would regain its original borders from pre-2014. And so this is really an indication that he believes that he is negotiating with someone that is in good faith. And that will come as somewhat of a surprise to many of the global leaders.
Recapping the top story this hour, 3 people have been killed in mudslides at Winkelspruit, south of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. Headlines at 12:30 for SAFM News. I'm Kolofelo Tifo.
Update at noon. You are listening to John Gericka on SAFM.
John in for Sakina, good afternoon to you. Welcome to the show if you've just joined us. There's a couple of topics we're going to be focusing on today. Obviously, there's that postponement of the budget. We're going to have a couple of angles on that. There's been a number of accusations and charges being laid, not criminal charges, just vocal charges being laid against political parties. So we'll get an update on that. Then there's the UCT. The Vice-Chancellor has spoken out about the protests at UCT. We hope to speak to the UCT Vice-Chancellor today. They released a press release. The security has been hardened on the UCT campus. There's a number of issues about debts, students who owe millions of rands to the university, so we'll get an update on that. And then, I don't know if you saw it, the department of the mayoral office of Johannesburg sent out a statement on the Star newspaper who allege sabotage. It says here that the mayor notes with deep concern, emerging reports there's an audio recording detailing scathing allegations in the Star newspaper, recorded at a meeting where members of the mayoral committee, 2 ANC officials and a Rand Water member, allegedly discussing strategies to destabilize the mayor's leadership by shutting down the water flow from Johannesburg as long as possible, suggesting that the water cuts that have plagued the city have been orchestrated to portray the mayor as unfit to secure adequate water supply for residents. We hope to get an update on that. Plenty bad weather happening across the country, all good weather if you need the rain, but lots of rain happening. There's our floods. People are being flooded out of their homes. I see people are involved in car crashes as well, so we're going to maybe get an update on the weather as well. And we're going to talk about the G20. That's the big topic today as well. Foreign affairs ministers, including invited countries, will discuss the current global challenges, but no USA. They've decided to sit this one out, and we'll see what the implications of that is. All of that and more coming up in the show. Welcome to it.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg. Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
South Africa is hosting a meeting of foreign ministers from the G20 group of major economies. President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to officially open the ministers' meeting in Johannesburg today, but the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, won't be attending the meeting, a decision which is attributed to South Africa's land reform policy following Ramaphosa's signing of the expropriation bill into law. Pretoria has been clear that its G20 presidency is a valuable opportunity to place the needs of Africa and the rest of the global south more firmly on the international development agenda. Earlier on, international editor Sophie Mokwena caught up with the G20 Sherpa advocate Nokonyana Jele.
This is not a South African focus. This is one that is shared and has consistently been accepted by all G20 members throughout the years, especially in the last few years. The geopolitical situation renders this particularly challenging. However, the end goal and the principles that we all embrace, we trust, will bring us together to a conclusion that will reflect shared values. This is the year in which we are celebrating the 80th anniversary of the United Nations Charter, for example. It is an opportunity for us to keep it back of mind, to remind ourselves of the reasons why we have an international order, of the reason why we have rules that apply to all. I think the President is, at this very first foreign ministers meeting, whilst work has already started in working groups, going to give the direction that builds on his speech during the launch of our presidency on the 1st of December last year, and speak to the need for us in solidarity to work as a group, both members of the G20 and our guest countries, as well as the important international organizations that join us in this endeavor, to see further steps being taken in each of the elements of the task forces and the national priorities identified to reach or move forward towards that just world.
Advocate, when you talk about a united group and the president trying to pull all member states together, when I spoke to the UN chief, Antonio Guterres, last year, he came to South Africa to see the president. There's huge interest in terms of the world body to ensure that this meeting is a success at a very critical time. The role of the UN at this gathering.
The United Nations is the center of international relations. It is the center of multilateral dialogue. The G20 is an element of a system that is centralized with the United Nations. When the president met UNSG Gutierrez in New York last year in September, we spoke about the value of the Pact for the Future that had been at that time adopted by a number of countries as also being an element in forming the kind of work that we're going to be doing, the goals that we're looking towards, which naturally then include the Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations is the center around which we gravitate, and it is one that has provided us both substantive support through its agencies as well as practical support. You'll be aware that Ms. Amina Mohamed is here as the deputy to Antonio Gutierrez, and therefore at this foreign ministers meeting the UN is represented at a high level. You will also be aware that a number of agencies of the United Nations participate as international organizations, but also provide support. They are experts in various fields, numerous fields directly relevant to the work that we are doing, whether it's those organizations that deal with employment, or UNESCO, for example, or UNCTAD. They are in a position to be able to help us feed the substance of the work we are doing. They assist us in many ways, and I do believe it is important for us to remember the importance of the United Nations as we as G20 members who are members of the United Nations meet.
G20 Sherpa advocate Nokonyana Jele in conversation with News International editor Sophie Mokwena. Well, let's talk more about this with Honorary Professor International Relations at the University of the Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, John Stremlau. Prof, thank you very much for joining us. Just how important is this G20 gathering in South Africa, not just for South Africa, but for the continent?
It was it was conceived extremely importantly as a member of the Troika. This is the first Africa summit that has ever been held for the presidency for the 2025 year between Brazil and America. And the question that I raised in my article this week was whether or not they could continue to consider the U.S. as an appropriate host for next year's summit, when Rubio, the Secretary of State, had declined to come, and he attacked the domestic policies ignorantly and provocatively of South Africa. It was an unfair intrusion and use of the G20 mechanism to attack domestic policies of South Africa on land reform and DEI and climate change. I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's outrageous.
Is this, so it's an attack on South Africa, you feel, not necessarily the G20?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I said it was, in fact, an attack on the G20, extrapolating to the fact that the G20 is a diverse, politically diverse group of nations that are trying to come to terms with a changing global economy. And that's why the G20 was initially set up in 1999 as recognition of the increasingly multipolar economic world. And yet this is still a sovereign state world, and the UN and the G20 share a common commitment to sovereign equality, and then proceed to talk about whatever coordination is possible among this diversity of states.
You start your article that you wrote about where Donald Trump is getting his information. He might not be getting legitimate information to make these decisions.
Who knows? I mean, you know, some wag in the U.S. press joked that Trump doctrine is a series of dots unconnected to one another, and he just shoots from the hip. And in fact, the posting, the 50-word posting on Elon Musk's X that Rubio supposedly said, but it sounded like Trump speak. South Africa is doing very bad things in the expropriation of private property, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and climate change. So there you have it. And they're attacking the domestic policies here, but they're violating G20 norms. And so is the U.S. qualified, Trump administration qualified to host the 2026 G20 summit? Now, theoretically, you could change the summit, but it's going to be very difficult politically. I gave some options in the back of the article, but it was they were off the top of my head, and the wish was the father of the thought to have South Africa continue for two terms, because it would focus on the inequities that South Africa wants to highlight this year, that between the North and the South, and find ways to bridge that gap.
America is becoming very internal, this whole Make America Great Again movement. If they pull out of the G20, what implications will that have for the gathering?
Well, they pulled out, except they're sending the chargé from the U.S. Embassy to play what role, I don't know, but in any case, they by having Rubio decline to come, they have created an opportunity for the G19 to think creatively about the 2026 options, and whether they can do that politically or not, I don't know, except that the West Europeans are really angry at the Trump administration, and the Russians are delighted with Trump's stand on Ukraine, but the Chinese are ambivalent, and I don't know whether the other 20 members can see the importance of at least using the G20 to say there are certain norms that are prevalent in the international order, and the U.S. has got to play by those rules. It has played by those rules, which it had an instrumental role in setting up after the Second World War, for heaven's sakes. And Biden agreed to have the U.S. host the 2026 summit, not Trump. And so maybe Trump will say, I don't want to have any part of the G20, but he likes the preen, and so he won't miss a photo op, and so he may welcome the G20, but God knows what he'll do when they assemble, if they do assemble, and maybe the G20 should send foreign ministers only to the summit. I don't know. I just don't know.
What sort of an opportunity is this now for South Africa to not necessarily put their foot down, but to show that they're a trusted middle power? They can now negotiate between the global North and South.
They are. You've said it very well. They are a trusted middle-range power that maintains good relations with Russia and with China and with the U.S. until this Trump administration. And the Trump administration is throwing its weight around, but it's a hollow weight. And I think that the Americans have got to wake up and somehow rein in Donald Trump. He's a danger to the world.
We're going to leave it at that. Professor John Stremlau, thank you very much. Honorary Professor, International Relations at the University of the Witwatersrand in Johannesburg.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.4 FM in Durban.
21 minutes past 12. 3 people have been killed in mudslides at Winkelspruit near Manzimtoti, south of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. In one incident, it's alleged that a mudslide crashed into a house with a family of 4 inside. Emergency services say 2 children managed to escape, leaving the parents trapped inside the house. In a separate incident, 1 person buried beneath mud and rubble when a landslide crashed into their house. Several roads have flooded across the city due to heavy rains in the province. Let's talk now to IPSS Medical Rescue spokesperson Samantha Merrick. Samantha, sounds like horrific stories. What's the latest news?
My latest update from scene is I know they were standing by waiting on information on a possible third site they were going to move across to. But at the moment, it's a massive effort from private search and rescue teams all the way through to SAPS and fire departments and Durban Metro.
Okay, have you got details of what happened?
The first site they went to with the sadly where the 1 person did die is that a stormwater drain or stormwater pipe did burst because of the amount of rain that they experienced yesterday and last night.
Durban or KwaZulu-Natal has been hit by these floods all the time. Is this all part of a bigger problem that has happened since those original floods where infrastructure just hasn't been maintained?
I think overall a lot of it does come down to infrastructure that has not been maintained, especially with stormwater drains. That's not always cleared. There's a lot of debris and rubble and rubbish in general, in and around communities that gets washed into these drains. It's not cleared out. It's not properly maintained. And then when we have massive rains, like we have experienced previously and yesterday, the systems just cannot cope.
And how are the rescue efforts going?
Very muddy. But yes, it's a massive effort. The guys are all working hard on site, and I'm hoping to hear back from them in the next 45 minutes to an hour. Unfortunately, communications on site are quite difficult at the moment, so the information we are getting through is very patchy.
All right, good luck to you and the rescuers as well. Thank you very much. Samantha Merrick, IPSS spokesperson. Landslides, floods and deaths in KwaZulu-Natal.
You are listening to John Gericka on SFM.
23 minutes past 12. Civil organisation AfriForum say, in spite of the organisation's opposition to recent developments in the country's political landscape, Afrikaners continue to see themselves as indigenous to South Africa. The organisation tried to engage with the presidency in a number of the issues, including the Expropriation Act, but received no correspondence from government. The organisation says it was at this point that it felt compelled to involve the United States. SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje sat down with AfriForum's Kali Creel, started by asking him what the organization's concerns are with that Expropriation Act.
No, the Expropriation Act is not in line with the Constitution. If you look at Section 19.8, it states quite clearly that expropriation can go ahead and you can go to court later. We know with the court rolls that are full, it will take you 5 years. You have to use your own money, and then you might just get money at the end of 5 years.
But it happens in the instances where, for example, the owner can't be traced, where someone perhaps is using the land, let's say, for speculative purposes, whilst the greater good needs to be used for the land.
No, that's not true. The fact is, people can go and read Section 12.3. It lists those grounds that you say, but it says including, but not limited to. So you're now giving powers to municipalities that are dysfunctional, a number of government spheres that can expropriate. Radical people can abuse this. And as I've said, you cannot stop it. You have to go to court at your own cost. It will take you 5 years, and people might just say it's not worthwhile.
All right. Then you had the president of the U.S. weighing in, saying, obviously, those people who are aggrieved can be granted a refugee status. And then you were the ones who said, no, you are not going with that. So here, what is the issue there again?
Yes. Maybe I can state why the U.S. We can do the courts here. We try to solve it by writing to the president. He ignores us. But there's one thing that makes it of interest, that we need to speak to the U.S. in the interest of people in this country, and it is AGOA and PEPFAR. We know PEPFAR assists people with HIV/AIDS. We know AGOA has a huge effect not only on the farming communities or benefit, also to factories, factory workers. And what the US says in AGOA, if you're going to abuse human rights, if you're not going to respect property rights and you're going to act against the interests of the US, you're going to lose that. So our effort is to save AGOA by saying to the US, tell South Africa they are contravening this. If we don't tell them, it doesn't mean they don't know. The US Embassy has indicated to us they've been following what has been happening in the country for a long time. They can read, and they will see it. We have to save the day to get AGOA.
Let me just come in. I know that one of the reasons why the President of the US signed that executive order, he said the land was being confiscated from certain groups. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think in terms of the wording, I would have used other words, but the fundamental issue is correct, and that is that the Expropriation Act threatens property rights. It has not been implemented yet. It's only on the 24th of January, and we are seeing land grabs. We see people...
Land grabs by who?
By people. In Bloemfontein, there's an example where that was instigated by ANC councillors.
But is that state-sponsored?
Indirectly, in the sense that the state, the state makes it easier in terms of legislation. The police, in many of these cases, don't act, and you have to go to court.
Whose fault is that?
Well, I think government is complicit in the fact that they should make sure that the police act. And then they should support people to try and solve this. Now landowners have to go to court at their own cost. They now have to get the red ants to remove it. It will cost you R500,000, and you have government doing nothing about it.
How do you want to see a redistribution of land happen, from your view?
Yes, I think we've got the Restitution Act. AfriForum is fully in favour of restitution. We've stated that many times. And if you look at the report by former President Cathy Mohlahlana in 2017, he drew up a high-level report on why it doesn't work. And that found the problem is not the legislation, it's government corruption, government inability to implement. Now it's failing and government needs a new scapegoat.
Okay. All right, because I'm just going to hand back to the studio and then we'll continue with our discussion. But let me just, before I do that, let me just ask you this question. We saw President of America offering refugee status to a number of, to Afrikaners, obviously aggrieved. So are you encouraging people, or have you received offers from people who want to take that opportunity?
No, we've heard that there are people that want to do that. Of course, that is their full right, and we won't try to stop that. But what we are saying, Afrikaners are not Americans, we're not Europeans. There were European people that came here, Dutch, Germans, British, French, but they became a new people on African soil, the Afrikaners. So we see ourselves as indigenous to this continent, as our people was formed here. We have a language that is named after the continent, and we know for a cultural community to exist, if you're going elsewhere, you won't be able to exist as Afrikaners.
Okay, let me, before I hand back to the studio, let me just ask you this question. We'll continue with this conversation. In 2018, you went to US to lobby, and then we have seen what the President of the United States has done. Is that the outcome you're hoping for?
Well, the outcome we're hoping for is that the South African government would realize we are going to lose AGOA. We were going to lose it anyway, but so that we realize that, so that we can find local solutions.
I'm talking about what the US President has done, signing that executive order. Is that what you wanted?
Yes, I think so. Not in terms of that, that is the ideal solution, but hopefully that executive order will put the spotlight on what is going on, and that so that we can find solutions.
AfriForum CEO Kali Kriel speaking to SABC News politics editor Mzwandile Mbeje earlier on today. It's 12:30.
In the headlines this hour, the number of people killed in mudslides in KwaZulu-Natal has risen to 5. KZN Cooperative Governance MEC Thulasizwe Buthelezi says disaster teams are on the ground assisting affected communities following heavy rains overnight across the province. Norwegian Foreign Affairs Minister Espen Barth Eide says Oslo is fully behind South Africa's G20 presidency. He says the continent's priorities must be the focal point in this gathering. And Hamas has handed over the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages to the Red Cross as part of the Gaza ceasefire deal. Details at 1.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
The rand is trading at 18 rand 50 cents to the dollar, 23 rand 33 to the pound sterling, and 19 rand 30 to the euro. Euro trading at $1.04. The dollar is at 150 yen 28. In Brazil, $1 trading at 5 real 72. In Russia, 88 rubles 35. In India, 86 rupees 58. And in China, a dollar is changing hands at 7.126. Markets in Asia mainly weaker at closing bell. Hong Kong's Hang Seng gave up 1.5%. Mainland China's Shanghai index ended flat. India's markets have extended losses. Japan's Nikkei shed 1.2% at the close of trade. The JSE mainly higher at midday. The all-share index up 0.1% at 88,441. The Industrial 25 index has dropped 0.9%. Financials are off 0.9% as well. Top 10 resources index, 4.5% to the good, and the precious metals and mining index surged 5.3%. On the capital market, the yield on the 186 government bond, 8.35%, and the yield on the R20 is at 9.18%. Markets in Europe mainly higher. Britain's FTSE 100 is down 0.4%, though. The CAC 40 in France has added 0.4%. Germany's DAX up 0.2%. Commodities, gold is $2,953. Platinum at $974 an ounce. Price of Brent crude oil is $76.17 a barrel.
This is SAFM Sport.
Liesl, good afternoon.
Hi there, John. Proteas spin bowler Keshav Maharaj says the squad isn't too concerned going into the Champions Trophy tournament.
He's very brave. Anyway, okay. What?
And the glass is half full. After losing their last 6 one-day internationals, South Africa get their campaign at the event underway tomorrow when they take on Afghanistan in Karachi. Afghanistan won the previous ODI series between the two sides 2-1, but Maharaj says that is just a statistic and that the players are set on improving their performances.
You want to come up and make the most of the opportunity that you're presented with. So the guys have been really working hard. It was nice to get everyone a little bit of a hit the other night and see the guys go through their sort of processes behind getting ready for this major event. But I don't think there's any sense of complacency from a batting front, even though conditions are deemed to be in the batter's favor. You're going to see a supercharged outfit. I wish you guys were here to watch us train. You can see the intensity and the length of training that the guys are going through just to make sure their skill sets are in place.
India are taking on Bangladesh in the second match of this year's tournament at the moment. The match is being played in Dubai as India are refusing to play in Pakistan. While Bangladesh won the toss, they chose to bat first and had a disastrous start. After 9 overs, they were on 38 for 5. Things are looking better though. The latest after 21 overs, Bangladesh are on 83 for 5. Meanwhile, New Zealand batter Will Young says the side is happy to start their campaign with a 60-run win over hosts Pakistan. The Kiwis posted a decent 320 for 5 in yesterday's opening match and dismissed Pakistan for just 260. Young and Tom Latham scored centuries while Glenn Phillips managed 61 off 39 deliveries. After the match, Young said partnerships were a key factor in the match.
Tommy and I talked about obviously building a partnership, and just felt like, you know, if Pakistan got 3 or 4 dot balls, we managed to get a boundary away not long after, and it just kept the momentum of the innings going. Brilliant to start off the Champions Trophy with a win. Just on the crowd, they weren't too quiet. They were a really good crowd. They were noisy throughout. So yeah, it's been awesome playing in Pakistan, and yeah, hopefully the crowds are the same throughout the tournament because they are brilliant today.
Soccer news, the quarterfinal draw for the CAF Champions League and Confederations Cup will take place in Doha, Qatar this afternoon, 4 o'clock to be exact. Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates are in the Champions League draw, while Stellenbosch reached the last 8 of the Confederations Cup. With Pirates having finished top of Group C and Sundowns runners-up in Group B, there's a slight chance, 33.3% to be exact, that they could face each other in the quarterfinals. Pirates could also face Algerian side MC Alger or Pyramids of Egypt. Sundowns could be up against Al Hilal or Esperance, who knocked them out in last year's semi-finals, where new coach, Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso was in charge of the Tunisian outfit. Pirates will be away in the first leg of their tie. Sundowns will be at home, and those matches will be played on the 1st of April. Staying with soccer, and it was always going to be tough for Manchester City to eliminate holders Real Madrid from the Champions League. Kylian Mbappe was in fine form in their second leg playoff tie last night. He scored a hat-trick as Madrid beat City 3-1 at the Bernabeu for a 6-3 aggregate victory. Madrid will now face either Bayer Leverkusen or Atletico Madrid in the round of 16. City coach Pep Guardiola congratulated Madrid with the victory.
The best team won. They deserve it. We have done a good the group stage in Champions League seasons, arriving finals and winning and losing, but semi-finals, quarterfinals, we behave really well. But this season, in all competition, we have not been good. And I have the feeling that the previous season, the fourth time, we were better than them in the previous 3, but this time they have been better.
Moving on to tennis, Yannick Sinner's 3-month ban for doping offences has caused quite a stir around the world, to say the least. Many have lashed out at the punishment, especially after it was revealed that Sinner and the World Anti-Doping Agency reached an agreement on the matter together. The ban will allow Sinner to return to the sport before the start of the French Open in Paris in May. But WADA's Ros Wenzel has defended the organisation's move to settle with Sinner and says the criticism is unfounded.
WADA went further, and this is something that we've not made public until today, but WADA went further and looked back at all of Mr. Sinner's samples for the 12 months before the 2 positive samples in March, just to see where, even if they weren't positive, they were obviously all reported as negative, whether there was any indication, any suspicion, even if it didn't meet the positivity criteria under our rules, that any of those samples contained the substance in question, which is clostebol. And there was not a jot, there was nothing. And that involved multiple labs, different testing authorities, and the result was clear. So it might be a complex factual scenario, but it was well substantiated, and the science ruled out any sort of doping scenario here.
And John's favourite F1 driver Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc have debuted Ferrari's 2025 Formula One car at Maranello in Italy. Hamilton again reiterated his commitment to his new team, while Leclerc said the two get on really well.
Whenever the most successful driver in F1 history comes to a team, you expect, I expected already Lewis to do a lot of things outstandingly well that will justify all his success that he's had in his career. And obviously there are lots of things for me to learn from him. So it's a very interesting moment because it's obviously the first times I get to see how he works behind the scene. And it's very, very interesting for me. So I'm trying to learn as much as possible. And I cannot wait to be racing alongside him very soon for Ferrari, and hopefully we'll win the title together.
Pre-season testing starts in Bahrain next week, with the opening race in Australia on the 16th of March.
Yesterday we had a go at ChatGPT because they got the facts wrong, right? So I asked ChatGPT today, can South Africa win the Champions Trophy?
And it says?
It gave me a whole long spiel, blah, 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 blah. But it says, in summary, with a balanced and experienced squad, recent strong performances in major tournaments, key players returning from injury, South Africa has a realistic opportunity to win the Champions Trophy.
But there's no percentage there linked to that.
No, but it's right. So therefore, it's okay now.
Cool. Now we feel better.
Yeah. Look at that.
SAFM 104 to 107. nationwide.
With Ford's Blue Sky offers, get a new Ranger XL from just $5,899 per month, including our optional service plan, only when financed through Ford Credit. 10% deposit, prime list 4.75%, 40% residual. Visit your trusted Ford dealer today for Blue Sky offers, where our Ford family guarantee comes standard. Limited time offer while stocks last. Ford Credit is a registered credit provider and an authorized financial services provider. T&Cs apply.
A convicted murderer on death row, a vicar in a quiet English town, and a maths teacher trapped in a cellar cross paths in the most unexpected way. Jefferson Grief is on death row in an American prison for brutally murdering his wife. But it turns out that Grief has a gift. He can solve crimes from inside his cell. English journalist Beth Davenport needs Grief's help. Janice, a woman who recently helped Beth, has gone missing. The last Beth heard from Janice? A text with a blurry image of a man lunging towards the camera. Will Grief crack the case in time? Exactly how is Janice's local vicar involved? And is it really possible to solve a crime before it is committed? Tune into Inside Man, Monday to Wednesday at 9 p.m. Starts 12 February only on S3. Open up.
The Chili Boys have a top-class game plan to relocate from the bottom half. But Babina Noko prefer a position in the top 5. This is the Betway Premiership. United battles it out with United. Witness Mzansi's beautiful game. Chipa United FC versus Sikukune United FC. This Saturday, 22 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
It's just about 1:45. The office of the Johannesburg Mayor, Dada Morero, says it notes with concern allegations that municipal officials, together with the mayoral committee members, are plotting to sabotage his authority by disrupting critical services, such as the provision of water to residents. Morero's office says he doesn't take these allegations lightly and is considering his legal options over the issue. In recent weeks, various parts of Johannesburg have experienced water disruptions. We're joined on the line now by Communications Director at the Mayor's office, Chris Vodo. Chris, thank you very much for joining us. How did the mayor come to know or find out about these allegations?
Thank you very much for inviting us, and good afternoon to the listeners of SAFM. The executive mayor has seen a circulation of the Star newspaper article citing the allegations around the issues of the attempted or alleged sabotage, which circulated on the media 2 days ago, where two members of the mayoral committee, where it's alleged that there's a recording that was recorded in a clandestine meeting where two members of the mayoral committee and ANC officials and rainwater official discussing strategies on how to destabilize the leadership of the mayor by shutting down water flow from Johannesburg as long as possible. And it suggests that the water cuts that have plagued the city have been orchestrated to actually portray the mayor as useless or unfit to hold the office. And this ploy is said to be part of a political scheme to render the city ungovernable and usurp the mayor's authority. So these are viewed in a very serious light. And the executive mayor has since confirmed that he will seek legal counsel, but also engage with the Star newspaper to ascertain the veracity and the legitimacy of these, whether this information is really valid or not.
Okay,
subject to that also possible.
So
yes.
to confirm, you haven't actually heard these recordings yourself?
We are currently engaging with the Star newspaper, but once everything has been formalized and there's confirmation of this, then the mayor will then explore all the possible avenues within the legal framework.
And how are the Star newspaper reacting to the request?
The Star is open to engage with the Office of the Executive Mayor.
So besides the article, and we found a Facebook post on this, what else have you discovered?
Look, if you are to look at the water situation and the supply challenges that the Executive Mayor and the Joburg Water team have been seized with since last year, since he has assumed the office, there's a lot of work that has gone through to ensure that there is a turnaround in Johannesburg. And of course, some of the maintenance challenges that would have been experienced through the Randwater 86-hour shutdown last year, and we're on the verge of asserting that this challenge will ultimately be responded given the work that is being done. So if there is something that has to disrupt services that are delivered to the citizens of Joburg, that's a serious concern. I mean, this is a violation of human rights if that is really confirmed and that information that is circulating is legitimate. It's tantamount to treason.
Okay, instead of relying on the newspaper and relying on the newspaper to divulge their sources, could the mayor or the mayor's office not simply gather MMC members and ask them about the plot if they were part of this recording?
There are currently internal engagements that are happening. As I said, that the mayor is considering all the legal counsel, including engaging all the stakeholders involved and that are cited. Obviously, we'll have to confirm the veracity and legitimacy of this information from the people that have generated the story. But also, once we have done that, then we can then be able to consult whoever that may have been cited in the information that is circulated.
Of course, Photo Communications Director at the Office of the Mayor of Johannesburg, Mayor of Johannesburg, Dada Morero, thank you very much. And just from our perspective, the only article we saw from the Star newspaper was a Facebook post that they posted. We searched through the newspapers from a couple of days ago, searching for an article, but all we've seen was a Facebook post, a short one as well.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
V up your February with great value deals from Vodacom Business. Meet the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra featuring integrated Galaxy AI. Get it on a Red Business 1.5 gig plan for only 1,539 Rand per month over 24 months. Enhance your deal. Add 69 Rand extra per month and get the Samsung Galaxy Watch 7 eSIM. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom Business.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
You are listening to John Gericka on SAFM.
10-1, the University of Cape Town has decided as a precautionary measure to move some of its academic classes to online platforms. That follows disruptive protests which started on Monday over debt, fees and student housing. UCT Vice-Chancellor Professor Mosa Moshabela says the institution's taken every measure to support as many eligible students as possible, but warns against unlawful protests would may infringe on the staff and other students' rights to have access to education. We're joined on the line by the UCT Vice-Chancellor Mosa Moshabela. Vice-Chancellor, Chancellor, thank you very much. What's the current state of disruption to academic activities on the campus?
Good day, John, and to you and to the listeners. Thank you for inviting me. I think today things are a little bit more stable than they have been in the past 3 days. At this point, there is no mass protests, just some skirmishes here and there of students who are still wanting to voice their concerns. We've made a lot of progress in engagements with the Student Representative Council, the SRC, and this evening we are also meeting with the University Council to try and see if we can find consensus on some of the demands that the students have made.
You released some statistics about how much money the university is owed by students and backlog of debt as well. Can you talk us through some of those numbers?
Yeah, this is important, John, because there's a context to the concerns that the students are raising. And in general, as a university, at the end of 2024, we found ourselves with a situation where we have a huge student debt of about 863 million that has accumulated over some time. And if you put it in context, in 2021, when we first launched this idea of concessions for student debt, the university debt was sitting at about 400 million. So it has more than doubled in 4 years, which is the context in which I was explaining to everyone that the idea of generic concessions as they have been done before is not very helpful. Rather, let's focus on prioritizing the financially vulnerable students. And in terms of the interventions that we put in place, focusing on financially vulnerable students, we've already spent about 52 million this year to help about 2,500 students to register. And they are registered. There are no problems there. Most of them are NSFAS students, and some of them have circumstances in their families that make it difficult for them to pay fees because they have demonstrated that they are from disadvantaged backgrounds. The concern that I have, John, is mostly with students who are fee paying or self-funded, but have not paid anything towards their accounts. And some of them have previously benefited from concessions, and they are also asking for concessions. And this is about 1,200 students on our list.
The question is, why should historical debt affect students that want to study today?
Yes, absolutely. This is important. The issue is that students have to understand that when you get to the top, you must not kick the ladder down. When you benefit from concessions today and you graduate, the time for you to pay your fees, then one needs to pay your debt, then you need to pay it. We show that in our report that from the concessions of 2021, there were about 239 graduates who are now gainfully employed and have not paid their debt, and we had to hand it over to debt collectors, and they're owing the institution 30 million. If you look at it year to year and you look at the accumulation of this debt, it now makes it difficult for us as the university to help the students of today and the students of tomorrow. So it's important for students to honor repayment of their debt, so that we can continue to have the capacity as an institution to support other students that are going to come, generations that are going to come after them. They must not kick the ladder down once they get to the top.
And what is the Department of Higher Education doing about all of this?
So one of the things that contributes a lot to the problem is the fact that in 2023, the students that are funded through NSFAS, for accommodation, we started having a cap because accommodation is expensive in Cape Town compared to other places. That cap makes it difficult for us to cover all the costs for accommodation. There's usually a shortfall in that funding, and that shortfall then is attached to the student fee account, and we call it the NSFAS cap. Every year we get a debt of about 140 million from all our NSFAS students because of this cap. There is basically nothing at the moment that the department can do or NSFAS can do. I had a talk with the Deputy Minister of Higher Education yesterday, presented the issue. But at this point, we don't really have a solution from the department side. We have taken it upon ourselves to make sure that we can help these students lift their fee blocks, and we have allowed them to continue. All of the NSFAS students are registered. That's not the issue, but it does mean that we have to absorb that debt as the university.
All right, we have to leave it there. Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town, Mosa Moshabela, thanks very much.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
And finally, the South African Communist Party says it rejects the contents of the budget that was scheduled for presentation by the Minister of Finance in Parliament yesterday. That didn't happen. The SACP says it mostly rejects the proposed VAT increase from 15% to 17%. The SACP says the unprecedented postponement of the budget must serve as a lesson against a policy direction that hurts the workers and the poor. We're joined by Dr. Alex Mashilo, who is the national spokesperson of the SACP. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us. What else, besides those couple of things that I mentioned, are you unhappy about?
There is a process problem, and this is not a mere process problem, but a political problem with far-reaching implications.
From what we do know about the contents of the speech, what do you make of that VAT increase?
The VAT increase is a serious problem. It was the largest ever tax increase in the recent period in our country's economic policy direction. It was increased from 14% to 15% on 1 April 2018. And at that time, there was an impression created that that increase was just temporary based on an assessment of conditions. Now it is increased further by 2% from 15% to 17%. Hang on a little bit. We have over 12 million active and discouraged work seekers who are unemployed in our country. We have over 17 million people who depend on social grants because they live in poverty. And this includes child care grants, foster care grants, and other forms of social grants. We have over 6 million South Africans who are in low-wage employment and depend on the national minimum wage. When you increase the value-added tax or VAT, in short, you are reducing the basket of goods and services that they can afford. So in other words, the amount of money in value terms that they have will have an additional 2% of everything they purchase going to value-added tax, and they are going to run short of that money to support themselves. We call it social reproduction. You know, the daily struggle to take care of your family, to take care of yourself, to take care of your household. So this VAT increase was insensitive to the conditions, particularly of the working class and poor of our country.
Doctor, you said there was no consultation with the alliance before the budget speech?
Yes, that is what I referred to as a process problem, but which is also a political problem with far-reaching implications. Remember that the 40% that the ANC received from the ballot was a result not only of the ANC campaigning alone. It was a result, even if we experienced a decline, it was a result also of the SACP, COSATU and SAMCO campaigning together with the ANC based on a manifesto we drafted together and we all endorsed. In that manifesto, we make a commitment to expand the basket of goods and services that are zero-rated from VAT, which means that when you go and buy, you would not, as an end user, pay the value-added tax on that basket. We did not say we will increase the VAT. This thing destroys the trust relationship between our movement and the people. While we have
the SACP's already said
direction to increase the VAT.
The SACP's already said it's going to stand elections on its own as an own political party. Is this just another kick in that direction?
No. Remember, when we went out to vote for the ANC, it was in the national and provincial government elections. The vote and the campaign